Yeah, that's true. I just never been one to be like, oh yeah, I'm good with abortion. I've been like that since I was younger. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Tough situation.
I'm not a fan of having any more children.
But you kind of you got fixed, right? You ain't got neutered.
Nah, brother.
Oh, okay. So you pro. All right, I see. Pro abortion. I ain't with that like.
You ain't got nothing wrong with it. Nah, I ain't saying that. I'm saying if you don't need it.
Yes, yes, yes. It is the Castworthy podcast, and we are back. I'm Big Steve, aka Last of Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine, joined by EJ the Savage and the VP of Research. And we're here. It's April 2nd, hanging out with these April Fools. And everything is good. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. What's up with you guys? Did you guys have an eventful week?
Yeah, man. For me, man, at the 9 to 5 is end of the month, so it was, that grind as always. And then I got this chick that I work with, man. She get on my nerves. We work on a project together, and now I feel like I'm doing most of the work. So I'm like, I might as well be doing this shit by myself. Like,
What else is new?
yeah, I mean,
Fucking, it's my life every day.
like I feel like talking about manager, like, I can handle that by myself or whatever. And then she like, oh, what about old girl? I'm like, well, I mean, kind of like dry snitching. Like, I mean, I'm kind of doing it by myself already. So,
Damn.
That's not how you dry snitch, you scumbag.
That's snitching, man. I ain't even try
Be like,
snitching.
let me show you, let me show you what I got. And real quick, let me show you the email of what she hasn't sent me her email yet. That's how you dry snitch. What's up with you, EJ? How's the new digs? Everything good? I know you're traveling further, right?
Nah. I
But less
mean,
often.
nah, yeah, that's often. It's a little further than the last job, but I mean, obviously, not having to go through metal detectors and pat downs and
Right.
nonsense like that
Worry about getting
helps.
stabbed in the back.
Yeah, that helps. So it's been all right so far. Nothing eventful with that spot. I can't complain too much. I get to see more of the Capitol and the National Mall. So that's always eventful. They were having a trans rally, I believe, at the Capitol the other
Oh,
day.
trans. Okay. I thought you said
Hmm.
trains. Like chugga 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 chugga.
Nah, trans rally. That was interesting. Capitol Police were out in full force.
Mm.
And some of the things I was listening to in the speeches was interesting. Like I didn't know that
did,
trans
did
people.
anybody storm the Capitol?
Nah, no, no.
I'm so
I don't
surprised.
think they're ready for that these days. I don't
No,
think they're doing
I'm
that
just
these
making a
days.
point.
No, I get you.
Went to DC, said, we want this, we want that, and then they left.
Well, I left. I don't know what they did.
Well, I
But
mean,
Right.
I watched
Right.
the news, so it seems like they left because I didn't hear any, I didn't hear about people, getting arrested or trying to, firebomb the Capitol or some shit.
yeah, they the language though was very interesting. They were one speaker was talking about seemingly some conflict that trans people have with cisgendered lesbians and gays, uh, lesbians, in that community.
Hmm.
Basically, how they get ridiculed, or I don't know, kind of like they have smoke with people that are cisgender. They identify with what they were born, but they're also gay, but they don't. I guess apparently like the trans community. So I don't know, but it was interesting to kind of hear that part of the speech. Like, I guess it's something in everything. Like there's beef with something somewhere. I don't know.
So basically, there's L and G's that don't get together with BTQs pluses. They don't get down with them.
Seemingly so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if they don't necessarily get down. I think it kind of, from my understanding of the situation, it's kind of like that. I don't know if you remember that Dave Chappelle joke in one of the Netflix stand-ups when he was talking about like if you were like in a car and it was there's a gay dude driving, there's like a lesbian passenger, and then he was like, then they stop, like they're driving and there's like a car broke down and it's a bi person, and then like the final person they end up picking up is like a trans person or whatever, and like the whole point of the joke that he weaves together is like how like gay and lesbian people feel like they've done all these things to get all this progress, and then like now here come trans people who might be making people feel like,
Benefiting.
not necessarily benefiting, but like
setting them back.
like they may be making people feel like it's setting them back or whatever. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think that's what part of the issue may be, like from the gay community standpoint. But
I can see that. I can see them feeling that way. I don't know that I feel too bad about them feeling that way, because it does somewhat seem that way, seemingly on the surface. When you talk about America and people, it seems like, and I know you're going to disagree with me, Vari, and that's fine, and we'll talk it out. But it seems like people are more okay and accepting of individuals who are gay or lesbian, with no different identification of their gender than people who have different, who want to change genders and stuff like that. That's what it seems to me, that people are, more accepting of. Oh, you gay? All right, you gay. Oh, you bi? You bi. Oh, you're lesbian? You're lesbian. Now, I know there's people that hate them all, right? There's definitely people out there that don't accept any of it, but I think there's more people. I think the true fire and flame comes from people who don't accept the latter of the letters.
I mean, I don't think that you're necessarily wrong there. I also think that with trans people, specifically when we're talking about the LGBT Q folks, is that I feel like trans people are like an easy target. You know what I'm saying? And so it's easy for people to aim the hate and the vitriol towards them because they're just an easy target for people. And
Them niggas
for
can
some
fight though.
people, hmm?
Them niggas can fight though. They not, like I've seen some videos in Atlanta. Oh, they can fight. I don't know if they're the easy target.
I think that, I mean, not
I don't mean
about
target like physically. I just mean like to shit on.
Oh
yeah, that have hatred towards. But I think there's other issues that come up with the gender piece, because I can be a gay woman, but as a woman, I may feel uncomfortable with a male in my bathroom, or the sports issue, or so I mean there's other things that I think come up with it. How you feel about it one way or the other is one thing, but I mean there are other things that come up with that. You know what I mean? Like you can be a lesbian female and play female basketball. You can play women's basketball, and that's just what it is. But when you're talking about the gender piece, somebody can argue like, hey, I don't know that this dude, 6'7", should be on LSU's women's team. That whatever side of the coin you're on, it presents something different. So I think it's a different topic that now comes up. It's not just about your orientation.
Here go one right here. Now that we're kind of in on this topic, I seen this story yesterday. University of Wyoming female students are suing the sorority because they admitted a transgender woman into the sorority, but the person allegedly peeped on them with an erection. So they're suing the sorority for that, right? And there's scumbags out there. Like that's Bold move, Cotton. That's if he's a straight man and he figured it out, like what I mean, content for days. But so I guess to your point, EJ, yeah, I'm sure there are gay women out there that are probably reserved about a transgender male being in the restroom or bedroom or whatever.
That's a huge issue in the prison system right now. We encountered a couple guys, this past year that just was like, I did like, yeah, I'm a woman, and these dudes, they're not, it come to find out later on, they just trying to avoid general population, and there's been those issues, and you've seen some instances across the country where there have been some rape issues or actual, sexual activity between someone identifying as trans that's around females. I mean, it's how these places handle it, I don't know, but those are just instances where the discussion changes a little bit because of that element. Doesn't, not saying one thing is right or the other. It's just a different discussion that goes past your orientation. You can be gay, but when you're talking about a gender difference, that's a different discussion. Not saying it's right or wrong, just it's a different thing on the table.
If I ever do a crime that caused me to go to jail for a long time, I'm gonna be like Orange is the New Black. Like, I am a woman. I identify and be right up in the women's jail.
But I mean, I think that these issues have to be, some separated, basically, right? When you talk about the bathroom situation, I mean, if you have a trans woman, right, and they're saying, well, I don't want this, biological male essentially going into the women's bathroom because my daughter may be in there, right? Then, but you're also okay with this person dressed as a woman going into the men's bathroom where your son may be. You know what I mean? Like, I just, I don't see what the big deal is about that on the bathroom piece. But then also on the sports piece, which is something that's totally different to me. The sports thing, like, you think about it, like, just from the aspect of, okay, men are just naturally stronger than women. They can, they're stronger, likely faster, et cetera, right? On its face, it seems like, man, we got to do something about this. This shouldn't be happening or whatever. But when you look at the actual facts of what's actually happening in the world, the number of trans athletes, who are competing, who were trans women who are competing against,
regular women,
cis women, or whatever you call them,
natural or biological.
Like, the instances of these things are like few and far in between. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so it almost seems like we're solving for a problem that doesn't exist, and it kind of reminds me of the situation in Utah from about a year ago, when the governor of Utah, who's a super right-wing conservative Republican, vetoed a bill that the Utah legislature passed that was banning trans athletes in sports. And he was like, I think he said something like, there's something like 7,000 athletes in the state of Utah, and 3 of them are trans. Like, what the fuck are we passing this bill for?
Yeah, it's a small amount. It's a rarity, but
it almost seems like it's a solution in search of a problem.
Nobody has a problem until you play Monopoly and the dice lands on the side, and it would have been free parking, and you would have came up like $5,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no rule for that. So, but it happens. So I get it. Like, I don't think it's worth spending the time to sit down and make extended laws and stuff like that. But realistically, it should be cut and dry, black and white. And I think that's the key, right? So some people make it so much more difficult and challenging. Oh, this is unconstitutional, and they have these rights, and blah 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 blah, right? Versus black and white. Hey, listen, the chances are they're going to be bigger, stronger, faster. And if nothing else, if we just take the hatred thought out of it and think about the safety of the biologically born, smaller, less nimble, depending on the sport, people, um, it's a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm thinking about wrestling, for example, like I should not be wrestling someone who was born a woman in most cases, right? I mean, there's a chance that there could be one that works out, and that's a rarity, right? But somebody like that's just bigger and stronger. When you're talking about safety, it just makes no sense.
And that's what I mean. That's what I was getting at. Whatever you believe or whatever you think, the discussion again moves from orientation to now gender, and we can sit here and say what we think is right and wrong, but I mean, people have levels of comfort, and if they feel a kind of way, they feel a kind of way. We can't, we can't say it's right or it should be for everyone, but it's just a different conversation. This is what
So
it is.
I hear what you're saying, right? When you talk about people's comfort and things like that, right? I know someone who says, I don't have a problem with gay people. I just don't want it around me. Like don't be all in front of me, like kissing and shit like that. And then my immediate reply is, so when you see straight couples kiss, are you like grossed out and you're about to lose your lunch? Like, you know what I mean? Like that shit makes no sense to me. You know what I mean? But that is not just that. It's not a person saying that I'm not comfortable with this, that, and the third, right? It's people who are saying, I'm not comfortable with this. And not only am I not comfortable with it, I want my lawmakers to essentially legislate these people out of existence. You know what I mean? So they can't have their drag shows. They can't have any documentation on history of their cause and them fighting for their rights in libraries, and kids can't be taught about them. And at first it started off in school. Oh, we don't want them to learn about this kind of stuff in schools, right? Because that should be up to the parents. Now, when they have these drag story hours, in various places throughout the country, oh no, you can't have those either. If children are present, you can be arrested. It's going to be a felony, right? Because if you're the parent, you can have your kids taken away. If you took your kid to a drag story hour, and the people who put on the event can be arrested, they can have their business shut down, and those kind of things like that. And when I bring this kind of shit up whenever we discuss this on the pod, in the chat, etc., essentially the foundation of my argument always is leading towards where we are now. This shit is the slipperiest of slopes, and people start off saying, oh, it's about the bathrooms. We just keep them out of the bathrooms, it's all good. Then keep them out of the stores. Just keep them in their home.
I hear you. I hear you.
Go to the grocery store.
I'm not talking about.
I'm
the
not
legal
saying you're
aspect.
saying that. I'm just
I
saying.
know, but I'm saying that we also have to realize, though, right, that there are people that are not saying legislate this and legislate that. There's just people that just. I understand, but there are just people that feel some kind of way. We can't act like shit just don't happen. Like it is what it is. Nobody's saying laws need to be changed. We know that's all wrong. What I'm saying is we can't act like as a world everybody's just okay with every fucking thing. We just not how it is.
I think the key is that I feel like people want to villainize somebody for feeling that way, right? Just for thinking something, not
agreeing with something,
not agreeing or supporting, right? And that's no different than them not supporting it, right? I think you have the right to feel that way. People have the right to feel that way. If you feel that way, it's Absolutely. Great. But I to your point, VP, I agree. To be, sending letters to your congressman and expecting them to make, political changes and spend political hours on these types of rules and laws, that's very excessive. Like it's unnecessary. But everyone has their right to feel away.
Right. And I don't have a problem with people feeling the way they feel, right? We have freedom of speech in this country, freedom of thought, etc., right? But at the end of the day, right? There's no person on this earth that I agree with 100% except myself, right? We have to share space with people that we don't agree with. You know what I mean? Whether it's on gay rights issues, voting rights, human rights, labor right, whatever the fuck the issue is, there's people who disagree with you. You know what I mean?
Breastfeeding nipples versus regular nipples.
And we have to share this country with each other, right? And this is not some fucking society where you get to say, this is what I believe, and because I believe it, everyone else has to live this way. That's the problem that I have when you talk about.
But I also think on the flip side, to Steve's point, we also, to some degree, and I think we all agree, and we always say this: feel how you feel, just don't let it fuck with my shit. Like, and I mean in the sense, like, if you don't like it, leave them the fuck alone. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you don't like it, go on about your business. It's when you try to stop other people from doing their thing that it becomes a problem. But I'm just saying, the conversation for some people, it changes from orientation to something different because that's how they feel. It's what it is.
Do we have health class in school anymore?
I don't know.
Have you heard of health anymore? Like, I haven't heard of that.
Shit at one point.
Yeah, my kid is too young. So I went through health class when I was in ninth grade, I want to say, which was where they started to teach us about, human anatomy and, sexual organs and things like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's the age to where, that is okay, then I think anything prior to that, because I agree that that's a good age, to try and get people to digest so they can make better decisions and stuff like that, right? I feel like that's probably a good age to say, right? Because I'm addressing what you said, VP. People saying, "Oh, it shouldn't be taught in schools," right? But I wouldn't want a teacher teaching my kid about heterosexual relationships or relations either. You know what I'm saying? Homosexual or hetero. That's what I'm saying. So for the people that say, oh, they should be able to do this in school, right? They should be able to teach this in school. There should be books available to anyone, to all kids. It's totally up to them. No, I don't want teachers teaching that, but I also don't want a teacher coming in and saying, hey, this is how, this is where babies come from. Like, it's the same. It's just, I feel like people think when someone says that, they're only targeting, the homosexual relationships and things like that community.
I hear what you're saying, but part of the reason why you get taught these kinds of things in school is because the people who make this argument about, I don't want my kid being taught this, that, and the third in school, let the parents teach them. The parents aren't teaching them. That's the issue, right? So, your school is telling you, we know based on data, right? It's not like we think this may be happening, or it's some kind of hypothesis, and it's just no way to know. They know based on data that children as young as 11, 12 years old are out there having sex. And so they're telling them, it's not like they're talking to their parent, hey mom, I'll be back late tonight because I'm getting some cheeks. You know what I'm saying? So, just put a plate in the microwave for me. You know what I mean? They're doing the shit behind their parents' back. And it's no way of knowing if they're protecting themselves and that kind of thing. And you have some parents who may be more conservative than others, who may say, well, I'm not teaching my kid about, how to put a condom on, or I'm not teaching my daughter how to protect herself if she gets in a situation, because my kid is not going to have sex until they're married, but we know that's just not how kids are vibing. Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's been that way for decades, right? And so the school system is saying, every time we turn around, we got some chick popping up pregnant. We got a dude in a nurse's office with his dick dripping. So let's teach these kids how to protect themselves, because they're obviously getting themselves in these situations. And people say, no, we got to get your parents. We got to have the parents do it. But the parents ain't doing it. It's the same people it's almost, you could almost juxtapose that whole let the parents do it with people who bitch about the free lunch program. Why are schools feeding the kids, right? And I'm not pulling this argument out of my ass. This is something that's literally happening in Oklahoma. They're trying to take away this free lunch program. Parents should be deciding what the kids eat, not the government, not the school. But they're literally your parents who don't feed their children. You know what I mean? So the government via the school is stepping in and saying, let's do the bare minimum. Let's give them the square pizza so they can at least be able to pay attention in class because their stomach is not cramping or whatever. Let's at least teach them, hey, if you notice something like this happening, you probably need to go see a doctor. Talk to your parents and go see the doctor. You know
But
what I mean?
we grew up in a, so I just feel like they're just trying to change society and change things how things are, right? And I get it. Listen, we have to be progressive. Like this is the world we live in. If you don't think like the next person and you're not thinking, oh well, we absolutely need change, then people label you as not being progressive, right? And that's not it, right? Like I never, until health class, was taught that I recall any of that, excessiveness, right? Like I knew what was going on. Like I knew my body was changing and I had a conversation with my pops and shit, but not like, oh, hey, if you get into it and you start dripping, you should go to, like, that's not like, why would you even, that's not a conversation you need to have before ninth grade. Like you shouldn't even be setting your kids up to engage in sexual intercourse before that age. Like it just makes no sense.
I totally agree, right? But when I took those classes, just like you, I was in high school. I think I might have been in 10th grade, not ninth grade, but still high school age, right? And this is the thing, right? Whenever people are talking about teaching this kind of stuff in school, people always use kids, right? And I get it, they're under 18, they're kids, except they're not adults in the eyes of the law, et cetera, right? But we're not talking about telling fourth graders, hey, let me show you how to put this condom on. They're talking about teaching young adults, teenagers who are on their way to adulthood. This is how this kind of thing works or whatever, They're not telling them, this is how you want to get it wet before you get in there, nothing like that. It's this how you put on a condom. If you're noticing stuff like this, you probably need to see a doctor. Because a lot of things what people do, especially when you talk about medical stuff, and I'm not necessarily talking about STDs, I'm talking about medical shit in general, is they ignore it. And ignoring it only makes it worse, right? And so they're literally just letting them know, giving them some information. It's almost, it's no different than picking up a fucking pamphlet in a doctor's office that tells you if you see doop, 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 you might have, high blood pressure.
If you're a shitty parent and you choose not to equip your kids, then that's on you and your kids. Like, if you're a good parent and you're going to have that conversation, you're going to teach your kids, it's just like right from wrong. It's like anything else. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to allow the school to have those conversations. If they build it into curriculum, great. But to sit there and fight it and, push the agenda either way, whether it's yes or no, it's ridiculous. Like, do your job as a parent.
And part of it, Steve, also like with what you just said, is we can't pretend that we live in a world that we don't live in, right? We have to take this world as it is, and we live in a country right now, right? To EJ's point in the chat this week, that doesn't care for its people's healthcare, it doesn't care for its people's mental health, etc., right? So it's easy to say, like, if you're a shitty parent and you're not doing X, Y, and Z, then we shouldn't be doing this overall as a collective, as a society, right? But you have people who have to deal with prices that are astronomical. They're working multiple jobs. I know somebody that I work with who literally works in our office and then gets off of work and drives fucking Uber Eats just to make some extra cash on the side to get by. You know what I'm saying? And so I could imagine, not the person I'm talking about, they don't have kids, but I could imagine a person like that who does have kids who are saying, I'm working a 9 to 5, and then on my way to work, I'm doing Uber Eats on the way. And then once work is over, I'm doing Uber Eats at night. If they had a kid and they're doing this kind of shit just to make ends meet, there probably is not a lot of time for checking homework and talking about, how to put on condoms and that kind of thing like that.
Vardy be trying to bait me into insensitive responses. You ain't getting me this time, bro. You're not gonna get me this time. Thoughts and prayers to those people that are struggling. How about that? Speaking of thoughts and prayers, Tennessee, man. Shout out to the first responders. For those who aren't aware, might have been under a rock. There was a school shooting recently. I don't remember exactly what city in Tennessee. VP could probably speak
Was
to
it
that
in
better than me.
Nashville?
Was it actually in Nashville?
Nashville,
Okay.
yeah.
So Nashville, Tennessee, a young individual, what looked to be young, 28-year-old human, decided for whatever reason, yet to be disclosed, that they were going to go into a school with a semi-automatic assault rifle and kind of set it off. And in that process, there were some children that were injured, some children that were killed, and the videos came out, and I fully support it. Before I was questioning, but I think we talked about it on a previous pod. I fully support, people feeling uncomfortable seeing this. I think that's what VP said. It's very uncomfortable watching those videos, and even more uncomfortable, if you have children that age. But we saw the video of the first responders, the police getting in there and being very deliberate about what, the ending was going to be on this. There was no, we're taking this person away and they're going to see trial. And I 100% commend them. Shout out to them. Prayers to those families. And it's just a tough situation, man. This shit is starts to ramp up. It's like it's school shooting season or something, or mass shooting season. I mean,
Yeah. It's sad. I think it's even more sad when you have this situation and someone going into a school and killing people.
anyone, right?
Yeah,
Kids, adults.
murder is, I don't know where we get off thinking that murder, is acceptable, and it's not on any level for any reason, any way that it's done. But it's, it's a big thing right now, and we talked about it, the issue of guns, and I get it. But I think you hit on, for me, the reason behind it. What motivates a person to want to shoot a child
Or anyone.
deliberately,
Even
yeah.
more a child, but yeah.
That, and to me, that's one of the biggest things for me, because it's like, how do you combat that regardless? How do you combat that? You know what I mean? Like, where is there a place for guns in a school? Like, even in states like Maryland, where you can carry now, concealed if you have a license, everywhere that you go, the law says you can't take it on school grounds.
Yeah,
So
schools,
it's like,
places that sell alcohol.
what compels a person to want to shoot a child?
Well, not Florida, right? Florida, we had, there was a school shooting. What was it, Monday in Tennessee? And Thursday, Florida says, hey, open carry for all. Wherever you want to go. No license required. You do you, boo.
What compels someone to want to shoot a child, though, that they don't know, have no relation to? That's a sick motherfucker.
I think it's like, I think when these people do these things, I don't think they go into it thinking, I'm going in here and I'm going to harm these kids. I think they go into it thinking, let me finish. I go into it and I think they go into it thinking, either I don't want to live anymore, I'm going to take a way out, but I also feel like nobody knows who I am and I need to go viral. I need to be talked about, right? These people get the most exposure of anyone, and they will be in history books. They'll be talked about for ages, for years, right? Whatever the reason behind it, that they feel like, they need to do something drastic. But I feel like and it could, I'm sure there's some that are like, I'm going to go in here and hurt these kids. But I think most of them are thinking, how can I either make a statement and be remembered as a person that did XYZ, whatever it is, right? Before I go out. And I don't mean just schools. I mean schools. I mean fucking the movie theater, on Dark Knight. I mean the dude that went into the shopping, into the grocery store up in New York. Like, I feel like these people, the dude that shot up it's endless, right? I just feel like the people that do these types of mass shootings, not the, oh, I'm gonna go shoot up the club because somebody punched me in the face. Like, those are the different mass shootings that we see. That the statistics make it seem like mass shootings happen day after day after day, right? That's how it's written in a book. But I'm talking about these walking into a public place and setting it off. I don't think these people have the intent of going in there and harming. I feel like they go in there with the intent of, I'm going to make it into history books. I'm going to be somebody someday. They're going to remember my name.
So I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I'm not gonna disagree with it in general. But I will say, for this case, specifically, this particular shooter basically went in there, like, I don't think looking for fame. I think went in there looking to cause mass murder, and maybe deletion by cop, because they have her talking to a fellow classmate back, because she actually attended this school when she was younger, basically saying, I'm planning to die today. You're probably going to hear about me on the news after I die, and that kind of thing like that. And then later, she goes there and shoots and kills 6 people, 3 9-year-olds, and then the principal, who's age 60, a substitute teacher age 61, and a custodian age 61. So, at the end of the day, man, this kind of, in my mind, a little bit ties back to what we talked about earlier when we were talking about gay rights, trans rights, etc. And when I talked about them essentially legislating solutions for problems that don't necessarily exist, and this is a problem that exists, right? Over the last couple years, gun deaths have become the leading cause of death by children or for children in the United States. It's overtaken cancer, it's overtaken car accidents, and we essentially are doing nothing about it except giving thoughts and prayers, right? And it seems very fucking cynical to offer thoughts and prayers for a problem that you're actively not trying to solve. You know what I mean? And every time this kind of thing happens, right, we hear about, if they had done this something, right, this could have been prevented. So we saw the video from the security camera of the shooter going, and I guess they had locked the doors or something, so blew out the doors and then it's kind of crawled through the glass or whatever. So now people are going to say, you gotta put bulletproof glass at the schools, you gotta round the hallways, you gotta put in these pop-up bulletproof bubbles in every classroom, arm the teachers, arm the administrators, arm the custodians, we gotta have guard dogs, put a moat around the school, right? we got to do everything except talk about the guns. That's the only thing we can't. That's a bridge too far, right? Because what we know in this country is that more guns make you safe. And if more guns make you safe, we have more guns than people in this country, right? And as we continue to accumulate more guns, we should be getting safer. But when I watch the TV, it doesn't seem like we are getting safer.
So, all right, I got a couple things to say to that. So the statistics that I read, that you shared, and I see it all the time and I read it, I feel like these are knee-jerk statistics to pull people's ear, and there may be some validity to it. Guns, children are dying more from guns. It's the number one,
Cause of death.
cause of death for children, right? And I get that. That might be true. It probably is true. I'm sure it's true because I don't think we would see it all over the place if it wasn't. But I think throughout the week, we kind of talked about this back and forth, and EJ has said, what about the statistics for inner city killings and things like that, right? And I feel like they use those statistics at the wrong time, right? Hey, mass shooting, school shooting. Guess what? More kids die from guns than cancer. If we take those statistics and you eliminate the kids that are playing with the gun, the kids that are hit by the drive-by, the kids that are, shot in whatever routine situation outside of mass shootings, I think the conversation changes a little. I think the number changes a lot, significantly, right? The message that people are trying to get across with that, let me be so direct with it, is we have to get rid of guns, right? I've said it 1,000,000 times, 1,000,001 times, make it 1,000,002 today. No one's going to get rid of guns. It's not going to start that way. You have to start somewhere. You have a car, you do 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds or 7.5 seconds or whatever it is. You got to get to 30 before you get to 60. You got to start with gun laws. You have to start somewhere. You can't go to the extreme. You can, but it's going to continue to fail.
So what I would say to that is that I get the point that EJ made in the chat, or at least what I perceived as the point that he was making on where there's inner city versus rural, or people who are just playing with a gun accidents, some maybe accidental discharge during cleaning or something like that, right? All those kind of things happen, right? And these statistics, while they do seem to get more traction after things like these mass shootings happen, right? The statistics are the statistics, right? And so I would say I don't think that it matters like how the gun deaths are happening, right? The fact is that they're happening. And in any other instance in a society, when things are happening, when we had 30,000 automobile accidents a year or whatever the number was because of drunk driving, we passed drunk driving laws, and when you
we don't get rid of the cars,
where the accidents weren't happening because of the cause.
But that's the point. The deaths are happening not just because of the guns, but the people who are using them illegally. We're talking as if this school shooting, like this person was using the gun in a legal way. Murder is illegal regardless, whether it's by knife, strangulation, by car, whatever it is. So this is an illegal act that someone is doing with a weapon. So it's not that it's just a gun. It is the reason why and how it happens is important. So when you're talking about the kids in the inner cities, right by my kid's school, these dudes are shooting and the mom gets hit and the kids get hit. We don't talk about that shit though. We don't, and Steve's point, we don't talk about getting rid of the guns. Kids is getting shot in the inner cities every single night and day.
No national news coverage.
And they don't cover it. They don't care. And Var, you made one of the best points that I've ever heard was the ATF and the lack of funding and the lack of the seizure of guns and all of these different things. Why are we not talking about that? You got the red flag laws that only 19 states in this country have for people to report, hey, this person is armed and they just posted on Facebook that they want to hurt somebody today. These red flag laws, these are different points of legislation that we should be talking about. Like even one of the gun enthusiasts I saw on MSNBC had an interview, or CNN, one of them, he said, yo, shit, federal government, just take control, make everything a red flag state and subsidize it. You know what I mean? Because these states ain't going to do it. But when we talking about one extreme to the other to say, take the guns, versus add more legislation. Like to Steve's point, as politicians, you know you're not going to get that across. So why is it the only argument? That makes no sense.
So I think what happens here when you get into the gun debate is that people say, on one extreme, they're saying take the guns and it's never going to happen, right? Which is basically what's happening in this conversation that we're having. But people who advocate for stricter gun laws, I'm pretty sure if you ask most of them, myself included, we would say you need to take all these guns away. But that's not realistic. That's not going to happen. If I was king for a day, nobody would have a fucking gun. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they use that as the straw man argument that nobody's arguing from or let me not say that nobody's arguing, that nobody who is seriously talking about this issue is arguing. And they use it as a straw man to say, well, we shouldn't do anything because if you take, criminals are gonna criminals are gonna do crimes. And so, you gotta have guns so people can protect themselves. You know what I mean? And if that's the argument, we should have no laws then, because we have laws for everything, and there's still murders to happen. There's still, people being sexually assaulted. There's still people who speed, etc. Right? But we have laws for that kind of shit. But with that being said, right? When I talk about getting rid of guns, right? I'm talking about the amount of weapons that people have, where you have one individual who owns 40 some guns. For what? You have two hands. Let's say you're somebody who's extremely talented and you can fire them with your feet as well. So there's 4 weapons that you can fire at a time. You know what I mean? Like what are we talking about here? Just like the comment in the chat that said, what is a hunting rifle, right? People are going out, they're saying, I need this AR-15 in order to, go hunting. AR-15s, which is a civilian version of the M16, those guns aren't designed for hunting animals. Those guns are designed for the sole purpose of killing people. And not just killing people. They're designed in order to hit human flesh and cause as much damage as possible. When those kids at Robb Elementary in Uvalde were killed, a year or so ago when that happened, their bodies were mangled so badly that they couldn't even identify some of them, because that's the kind of damage that an AR style weapon does. It is designed to not just kill, but cause maximum amount of damage to whatever it hits. You know what I mean? That is not for hunting animals. Deers are not wearing a Kevlar.
It's not for hunting animals. It's really not for home defense either. Listen, it's for sport. It's people that have those guns.
The sport of
it's
what,
for sport.
It's, carry on.
The sport of what? Well, not for. I wouldn't say sport of killing. Don't even do it. You're going too far.
No, but the point I'm making is that that's what the gun is designed for. Like when people say, "Oh, it's for sport," target shooting, that kind of shit. Like people who shoot for sport and for target, they don't need those kind of weapons.
Vari, how many feet you got? How many feet you got?
What do you?
How many feet do you have?
Oh, okay. My bad. I thought you were asking me like how far something is. Well, I have 2. My bad.
You got 2 feet. You got more than one pair of shoes. So that argument just doesn't work. I think partially what happens here too, right, is I don't disagree with you, and I don't think EJ disagrees with you, although I am an avid owner of, those things, those weapons. I think you get people that do it because it's there. But I also think that it gets worse because they politicize it, because they make everything political, right? So now you got, Democratic side of things that are like, hey, ban, ban, ban. Guns, guns, guns. Guns are the problem. Guns are the problem. Guns are the problem, right? Then you have people that are gun activists, gun lobbyists, and support the ownership of guns, right? So now you have people like DeSantis, who's like, you know what? I can get more following by just simply saying, y'all go ahead and do what you want with these guns. carry them, do what you want, right? Now he's got Florida. He did it in Florida. You target people in wherever, since he's trying to run for president. So now it becomes a political thing. It's more of a political conversation, political issue than anyone really thinking about the safety or the impacts of the overwhelming ownership of assault rifles or guns in general, right? I always use the example. I've been here since 2004. I got my concealed weapon permit here in Florida in 2005. And since then, I've renewed it twice. One time I had to take a new picture. The other time it was just sending money. Nobody since 05 has asked me or checked to see if I've been through anything catastrophic, anything mentally taxing. Have I gone through a divorce? Am I experiencing depression? You know, family members that passed away, right? Like nobody's looking at that. Everyone just simply saying and going straight to, let's get rid of the guns and that's the way to fix it. And that's just not it. Like my point is always going to be, you got to take those steps. You need to have stricter laws for ownership, and you start there. Because I tell you one thing, however many guns someone has, myself, anyone included, if they came out today and said, hey, we're banning guns and all guns are going away, no more gun sales, blah, 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 right? Whatever. They found a way to do it. You're still going to have what's in production. You're still going to have what's in production.
Yeah, and the other thing when you're talking, you know, aside from these school shootings, again, and like we asked and like you said initially, why? What was the reason behind it? And when you look at the shootings that happen in these urban areas, a lot of these shootings aren't from legal guns. You know, drug sales, high crime drug areas. There are youth today that are literally killing each other for space to sell drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get rid of the guns, but are we really getting rid of the why? You know what I mean? Like, that is important. Like, I agree with VP 100%. AR-15s should not be available. I'm good with that. You know, there definitely should be some stricter gun laws. The red flags reporting needs to extend to all 50 plus, you know, all 50 states and territories and wherever. You know what I mean? But just getting rid of it doesn't change the why. You know, for a person.
If anyone in your household gets diagnosed with depression, anxiety, then you should have to turn in your gun if you have a concealed weapon permit. If you have a weapon that's registered to you and someone in your household is deemed to be unfit to handle a firearm, then you should have to turn it in. Because that's how you stop it. These people are not, I mean, half of them, some of them are, but most of them are not going out to a store with a concealed weapon. They're not doing, you know, they're not doing the 3-week or 4-week, whatever city or state they're in, the background checks and all of that. They're finding a gun from a family member and they're taking it and they're setting it off.
So that's exactly the point that I was going to make that Steve just raised, right? When EJ talked about, well, we don't know how many of these guns are illegal guns, right? I have news for you.
I didn't say that.
Every illegal gun was purchased legally.
I didn't say that at all.
I mean, whatever the point you made about illegal guns, the point I'm making is that every illegal gun was purchased legally before
at some point, probably, yeah.
Right. And so the point that I'm making, and people who advocate for these kind of changes the way that I do, is that we have to do something at the start of the pipeline, right? To Steve's point about having to register and mental health checks, you know, check-ins, things like that, right? In a country like Japan, I've talked about this before, they have that, where you have to apply to be a gun owner, and you have to go and see a mental health professional, and you have to talk to them about safety, like where are you going to store your weapon? How are you going to make sure it doesn't get in the hands of children? You know, what do you want it for? Okay, I want it to hunt, self-defense, you know, whatever. Okay, self-defense, why? What's happening in your life that you feel like you need an instrument of death in order to protect yourself versus the normal stuff that everyday people have or whatever? What's happening in your work life? They interview people who you work with, they interview your family and that kind of things like that to see where do they think that you are, you know, mentally. Are you somebody who should be trusted to have the power of death in your hands? You know what I mean? And then once you pass all of that, they issue you a permit to be able to purchase a weapon. And then a year after your shit is issued, you got to go through all that shit again to renew it, to say, hey, a year ago you were good. Let's see how you're doing now, right? But the problem is, to Steve's point, when you talk about the politics of it, right? We basically have one group of people who say we should have some kind of shit in place to make sure that people are, in the right mental space to have instruments of death, in their hands, right? And you have another group of people saying there should be nothing in place, right? In the mid 2000s, right? In the mid aughts, they tried to pass legislation that said people on the terrorist watch list, these are people who are in the United States that we know are terrorist sympathizers and potentially could be planning terrorist events themselves, able to buy guns. And the Republicans in Congress said, no, we're not for that. That's a non-starter for us.
It's political. That's what I just said. It's easier to support something or oppose something if it means you can potentially win something, right? And in this case, it's a seat, whether it's Congress, whether it's the Senate, whether you plan on running for mayor, whether you plan on running, right? You're thinking, all right, well, I can increase my base how? Because no matter what, you talk about cultural, we talk about how Biden panders, and a lot of people pander to the Black community, right? Every community, no matter whether it's Black, white, Asian, whatever you want to call it, Carmelin Asian, whatever Tiger was, has people that are on both sides of that fence, right? So you got Democrats on that side of the fence trying to pull them in by saying, hey, you need to be safer. You need to be safer. And the way to do that is no guns. And then you got Republicans on the other side like, well, all right, we've identified that X percentage of people are gun enthusiasts. No, we're fully opposed to you being, or these people that feel like you get safer by not having guns, right? Because when I had this conversation with a group of people that I'm good friends with that are extreme gun enthusiasts, like extreme. And their thing is, oh, it's not the guns, it's the laws, right? But it's not the gun laws, it's the law, it's the consequence of the laws. If the consequences were stricter, then people wouldn't do this stuff, right? That was their argument, right? And I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form. I think that's bullshit, right? Because you think about in one point in New York, EJ, years ago, you can keep me honest, before I moved out of there, they made it so strict to where if you were caught with a gun, it was X amount of years, and then they started to charge you by bullet in the clip. You got an extra amount of time added by that, and people were still. So I don't think it's how strict the laws are, etc. I think there's more to it. There has to be a happy medium. Like, we can't continue to wake up and hear about children being slaughtered for no apparent reason. Children should never be slaughtered, first of all, but for no reason, right? There has to be something that happens. And you got, VP, when we were in the chat, we talked about this throughout the week. You got these people saying thoughts and prayers, but then Christmas time comes around and they have to appeal to their base. So they put out a Christmas card with them and their children holding assault rifles, right?
And let me address two things real quick. One, the thing that you said about the punishment. I disagree with the punishment issue, right? And part of the problem is that it kind of goes to the point that EJ was making about having something nationally versus 50 different state policies, right? And so in New York, they said, okay, if you do this, we're gonna make the punishment be X, Y, and Z, and then we'll charge you for each round and the clip and all that kind of thing like that. That's just New York, right? If you have this policy more nationally, right? Because we see that in Japan. Right? In Japan, their gun laws are extremely strict, but this is not something that's happening state by state, province by province, or however they, divvy up their country, whether states, provinces, etc. It's something that's nationwide, and people adhere to the law because they know if they get caught doing some shit with guns, they're gonna get punished severely, right? And to the whole point, I know y'all didn't make this point, but people always say, criminals are gonna commit crimes or whatever, right? over there, even people in the Japanese mafia, the Yakuza, right? They're so strict on gun laws. If one of your men, one of your soldiers commits a crime with a gun, they go after the boss of the family, not just that soldier.
Oh, you
know what I mean? So what'd you say?
Oh, I'm on my mute. I'm saying the Oiban.
Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, so that's that. Finally, I want to address this comment in the chat from Maine or Mamie. Sorry if I butchered your name. Apologies.
Hello.
About addressing mental illness, right? Let me explain something to you. The United States is not special. We don't have a special category of people with mental illness. They have mental illness in every country on this planet, right? But in other westernized civilizations, right, throughout Europe, throughout Asia, you don't see the amount of gun death in those countries. They have mental illness. They play violent video games. And in fact, some of them play more violent video games than we do. They listen to rap music that has explicit lyrics that talk about death and shooting people and drugs, et cetera, at the same rate that we do, maybe even more. But they don't have the amount of mass death that we have by guns. And why? Because they don't have access to guns in the way that we do. So that whole argument about solving mental illness, in my opinion, I'll respectfully say it's a bunch of fucking horse shit.
I don't think that is, again, it's how you, it's not solving mental illness. We can't ignore that there is a correlation between school shooters and mental health status. And while other nations have mental health issues, we can't be one country to say healthcare for all and our healthcare system needs this and needs that, and not realize that every other nation has mental health issues, but we handle shit worse. We either are the fucking country that vilifies people for having mental health illnesses. We are the country also that we don't want to talk about it, but we have thousands of homeless people. I live in a city where just yesterday I was feeding homeless people. Just yesterday, we have a causeway where there are hundreds of people in the city that sleep under the fucking bridge, homeless with mental health issues, and nobody does a fucking thing. This is why, as a nation, we can't ignore that there is a correlation between mental health. There is a correlation between drugs and all of this shit that happens in our nation, because people just don't pick up a fucking gun and shoot someone the same way they just don't
anything.
Same way they just don't stab someone frivolously that they don't know. Like, there's a correlation. Nobody's saying it's the only thing, but there's a correlation.
And I'm not arguing that those things are not connected. I'm not saying that there's no correlation. What I'm saying
but people are saying that. That's the problem. That's the problem.
The point is, EJ, is that they have mentally challenged people everywhere, right? But in other places, they don't give their mentally challenged people access to mass death.
I understand that. And even what Steve is saying, what we talked about, again, 19 states in this country have red flag laws. 19 states. Make it a national thing. Subsidize the states for doing that shit. Make it a national thing. They also don't have in other nations, like I said, we're the most violent nation by culture probably in its entire existence. America is fucked up. We're different. We're just different with a lot of shit. A lot of places don't have homeless issues that we do. A lot of places don't have the drug epidemics that we do. We do a lot of shit that's not what the rest of the world does. And I understand what you're saying, but I mean, legally, you can't have one side just say take away everything and the other side say you're infringing on my rights.
Everything. I keep saying that.
But even to your point, EJ, I think the key is it's become too much of a political issue.
That's the problem.
And so when you're saying, I agree with you, and I think VP would agree with you in the sense of the federal government needs to step in if that's what it's going to take, and make laws at the federal level. The problem, though, is the federal government can't get their fucking dicks together. You got one on one side, you got left hand saying this, right hand saying that, and everything is more about, and I've said it a million times also, more people want to be right or left. Nobody wants to be right or wrong anymore. And so because you have, a Senate that's divided, you have a House that's divided, you'll never get it. We'll never get it. We'll never get it at the
Right.
federal level for them to say, "Hey, we're instituting this law, and guess what? If you as much as post this on social media, you have to turn in your gun, right? And if you don't, if you have X amount of time, this gun is registered to you. If you don't turn it in, we're coming to see you." Warrant, whatever that looks like, suspending your license, your driver's license, whatever, suspending your tag, you get pulled over, whatever that looks like, you need to have some type of consequence to where people are held accountable, because you can have laws with no accountability, and that means absolutely nothing also.
Right. And the thing is though, like when we talk about things getting political, and I don't disagree with what you're saying about everything becoming hyper political, etc. Right. But at the end of the day, it's politicians who write our laws. So anything that needs to be solved on a political level is gonna be political, right?
Mhm.
The problem is though, is that, and when I say this kind of stuff, I sound like I'm just some liberal Democrat who is just shitting on the other side. But these are just facts. There's one group of people that don't want to do anything about gun deaths in this country. That's just a fact. You know what I mean? People in Republican, that's not even say group. They're Republicans. They don't want to do shit
But
about gun
do you
deaths.
think the Republicans don't want to do it because they don't think there's a
I definitely do. They don't want to do anything.
But wait, but do you think they don't want to do it because they don't think there's a problem, and they don't think that they feel like kids should be killed? Or do you think they don't want to do it because it's just going to allow them to continue to get their base?
No,
Because that's what it is. I
I
think
don't
some of
think
them
that.
are good people, but I'm going to get votes this way, and I need votes to keep my seat.
I don't think that Republicans are basically saying that they want kids or anybody to die from guns, right? That's just a fucking byproduct of their policies. You know what I mean? But at the same time, though, they are extremists. You know what I mean? They're dug in, and they don't want anything to happen. It does anything that you say about guns, whether it's something as simple as background checks. No, right? They have technology now. We've learned about 10 years ago that allows them they can put in guns that allows them to essentially like code bullets or whatever, kind of like some shit from the movie what is this called?
Judge Dredd.
With Judge Dredd. There you go.
Mhm.
Something like it in that vein of thinking, right? I can't remember exactly how the shit works. They said no, that'll be almost like registration. We wouldn't want cops to know who's killing people. I mean, come on. This guy's talking crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like anything that you do that you say, well, let's do this, let's try that. They say no to everything. So to Steve's point, when he talks about, to go 0-60, you got to hit 30 before you hit 60, right? We're at trying to hit 5, and they're saying no. Something as simple as background checks. 92% of the country wants background checks. 92% of the country is not Democrats. They're not people who want all guns taken away and shit like that. That's almost everybody. You can't get 90% of people to agree that today is Sunday. You know what I mean? And they agree on background checks. We can't get that passed. Something as simple as just saying, let's make sure this person's all right. You can't do it. So I don't understand how we solve the problem. And the last thing I'll say on this, because I know we're long, I know you're probably ready to transition us or whatever, but after they killed those kids in Sandy Hook, I essentially have gotten to the point to where I don't feel like I've given up, but I essentially have said I don't think they're going to do anything, because they didn't do anything when a member of Congress got shot in Gabby Giffords. They didn't do anything when they killed 20-something first graders, babies, 5 and 6 year olds. They're not going to do anything now. And so, I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's a fucked up situation, man, because I've said it, and I've been insensitive and on record to say it needs to happen, in people's backyards for them to feel it. And it is. And it doesn't seem like it's making any difference. So I don't know what it's going to take, but I know it's a fucked up thing to wake up or to pop back in from lunch while you're at work and check your phone or check the internet, check the news, and hear about somebody going into a school with, being armed and taking children's lives. Like, and anyone who is in a position to make decisions that can prevent that and chooses not to do that should not be in those positions. And that's my take.
Yeah.
Prayers to those children, man. Fucking 9-year-olds, 3 9-year-olds. I just think about, poor children sitting in a classroom and not knowing what the fuck to do if some shit like that happens. Like, you visualize it and the shit is it's fucked up. It's fucked up. But let's move on to something that's not so somber, and let's talk about the motherfucking UConn Huskies, Vari, and bum ass Miami Hurricanes ain't want no smoke. Zero smokage last night. They were too big. Pause. Too much beef. Too much meat in the paint. Pause. They ain't want it, man. They ain't want it. UConn Huskies. For anyone who's not following the NCAA March Madness tournament, Final Four started this or was played this past weekend or yesterday. Yesterday, and the Huskies played the University of Miami, which is VP's people, and I am a Huskies fan, and they stomped the mud hole in them. And then so the championship, the national championship is set, and it is San Diego State. Am I right?
Yeah.
And who are they playing?
UConn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who did they play? That's what I meant.
Oh,
Who did they play?
FAU.
I'm like,
Florida
what?
Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic. That's what it was.
Florida Atlantic University. They're like in the Boca Raton area.
Boca Raton. Okay. Yeah, so San Diego State versus UConn, national championship. It's looking like there should be it's UConn's to lose. They're just a bigger team. When you have those big name teams like that generally have a great presence of individuals that have made it to the league or are in the league, they just tend to have that talent, right? And it's fortunate for UConn that a lot of those other schools like them had bad games and got bounced out. The Kansases, the Kentuckys, those guys are gone. And so it should be a road to a chip for these guys. Do you guys see any chance of UConn losing that game?
So let me first start off by I want to congratulate the FAU team and the Miami Hurricanes for reaching the Final Four. Both of them, it was the first time in their school's history. So shout out to those guys.
SD State too was their first time.
Who?
SD State.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, they're still in it, so that's why I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But starting with the losers first. But the runners up, the first losers. So, but so shout out to them, man. But yeah, man, congrats to UConn, congrats to San Diego State. To the UConn game, man, it was just, like you said, man, they got a good team, right? They play very good defense. They rotate well on the pick and roll situations and that kind of thing like that. And like nothing we were doing was really working up. And even in the third quarter, in the second half, I guess the amount of minutes would have been like third quarter, like NBA game, when Miami went on that run and cut it to 8. And it's like they called the timeout and then it just instantly shot back up to like 17 points or whatever,
Yeah.
It's just that team is, they're good, man. And the size was definitely a thing we were watching. And somebody here was like, they're missing all the layups. And I was like, those aren't layups. They're like prayers. They're like throwing those shits up to get over these centers that are like 12 feet tall. So I was like, those aren't, even though they're taking place in the paint, those aren't like regular layups, man. Like the guy, they're good, man. That kid, Sanogo, the black guy.
I think it's Sanogo.
That dude is definitely gonna be in the. He's nice. That guy is nice, man.
He should be. He reminds me of like an Elton Brand. A little bit bigger though. Like he rolls well, plays good defense.
Mm-hmm.
Only
And he got
problem is he
Jake.
travels a lot.
He can shoot it. Oh yeah. He definitely travels too much.
His
They
footwork
can
needs
they can
some work.
coach out of him though.
Yeah.
You because most players already know with a big man, you just pull the seat from under him. When they try to post him, you pull out the chair and then you let him travel. But that's happening now in college. When he gets to the league, it'll probably happen the first year or two. But they can coach that out of him.
I think it's going to be a hell of a game because San Diego State got here by beating number 1 seed Alabama. They beat Creighton, who's also a Big East team, by 1 point. So these guys are pretty good over there as well. I don't know. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. I'm going to go with San Diego State.
What I would say, I think UConn.
Year.
I think UConn wins this game, right? I agree with Steve that it's UConn's to lose, right? But what I would also say is that San Diego State, I think they have to try to come out and like take UConn's like heart out of it, like in the beginning. They can't go quick. They can't be trading baskets, and they can't get down. They can't like last night with UM at one point was down by 20. They can't let it get like that. They can't. I would say they probably, for them to win, the league can't stretch double digits. 8 or 9 or fewer, they're in it. They start letting this thing get double digits, and I think it's a wrap.
Miami did a good job closing the gap a few times. Like early on, I think it was like 16-4, and they closed it up and brought it up, it tied up at 19-19.
Tied up at 19.
They did a good job with that, but it's like being in a fight. You know what I mean? When you're in a fight with someone that you probably gonna lose, or they just got the better of you, you probably gonna get a couple punches in, and people gonna be like, "Oh, damn." You know what I'm saying? Haymaker, and and you get rocked a little bit. It's it's tough. You play. It's like playing spades. Another analogy. Hey, they just went on. They got 5 books on us. Oh, he had the ace and the king of hearts. Got 2 books. Yeah. But now they're gonna run out. You know what I'm saying? You're still getting set.
I really pay attention to that San Diego State Creighton matchup because Creighton is in the Big East with UConn, and Creighton was running the table pretty much the entire season. Like I said, they beat UConn by 1 point this year. They were 1-1 versus one another. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game, and I don't know, man. This San Diego State team, I think they got something special.
And EJ, did you watch the game last night, the UConn UM game? Okay. So I was gonna. So let me ask you. You are more connected to college sports than either me or Steve and I or whatever. But there's a situation that happened last night in that game that was just, it had me upset because I'm like, how is this happening like in a Division I school? And it's not like San Diego State. They're not like a huge program. Even the Hurricanes, I would argue, are not a huge program. But it's just that they are a program that come from a private school, so they're well funded. You know what I mean? So one of the UM players on a play, he like broke his shoe or whatever, right? So they had to take him out of the game, and they were trying to like find shoes for him, and they got like the player is sitting on the sideline, and they got this equipment manager like going back and forth, bringing out shoes from the try-on, and I'm like, they don't got like radios where like the one guy could be in the front, like, yo, bring out the Air Maxes, and then somebody runs them out or whatever. Like instead of having this one dude, because we know like these games are played like in football arenas that they turn into basketball courts. So like getting to the locker room, that's just like a journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say probably because of the security measures, and your equipment team is your guy, so they keep everything very close to the chest. So, it could just be, and like you alluding to, that program, these aren't the Kentuckys, they might not have that staff of 10, like everybody else, like these big schools, basketball wise, so it could be a little bit of that. Could be, and it could be security wise, tight, Final Four. I don't want, the coach might be like, I don't want nobody going back there, or, the equipment guys. I know equipment guys, they take their jobs pretty freaking seriously. So they might be like, nah, I'm going to do it. Nobody else is going, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
As a player, you should have more than one pair of shoes with you.
No
though.
question. No question. At that
And
level,
I was
you
thinking,
definitely have to.
I was like yelling at the TV, like, why don't he just go back to the locker room and try the shoes on back there instead of having the equipment guy? Because like at one point they like I don't know if there was at a timeout or like maybe like there was a play stoppage because of a foul or something like that, and they literally showed the equipment guy like leaving the sideline, and I mean just to get to the tunnel, that it was a trek. I'm like, yo, like what the fuck are they doing? This shit was
You would
ridiculous, man.
think Miami would know better than that too, because they're a pretty big organization, when it comes to college sports. Well, EJ is disloyal, and he's gonna roll with the ops.
I love
So
UConn though. I still love UConn. I just see it happening. I can see it happening because that San Diego State team
I'm gonna let me give you a piece of advice: don't bet on it.
Nah,
Save your money.
It ain't even the odds ain't even it ain't even like that. I don't. Yeah, I don't like to put huge bets on single games. So I just put like a $40,000 parlay in baseball for $5. I'm not gonna win at all.
I think UConn will pull it out. I hope it's a good game. Miami had so far of the tournament they've kept it the closest, and had the closest total. I think it was like 13 points. Next one was 15 after that for UConn's win. So, good run by Miami, man. You guys got a good coach. I mean, guys, he's old, right? But this is his second time around. George Mason.
Coaching, but first time making the Final Four.
Baseball season is full effect, and as expected, Aaron Judge hit the first home run of the season. Yankee Nation. Yankees look really, really good again. They always do. It's just going to be a matter of watching the pitching and, seeing if they can pull it out, for 162 games.
That shit is ridiculous, man. The season is just 100-something games. It's just too much, bro.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Yeah. I like the Mets have a good. I like both of you guys' teams too. The Mets have a good team, and I like the Marlins as well. Marlins picked up some veterans. Gene Segura at shortstop, I think, was a good pickup. You guys got a decent lineup there. What are you guys' expectations for your teams this year?
I won the Subway Series for the World Series. That's my goal every year. I want the Mets and the Yankees to make the Subway Series. But with the Mets, already plagued with injuries, from World Baseball Classic, just dumb shit, already happening. I don't know, man. I don't really expect much from them at this point. I like Buck Showalter though. He's a good coach. He's been able to coach nothing to something plenty of times. Former Yankee staff member. But yeah, I don't really expect much. But hopefully they'll win NL East and get in deep into the playoffs. But for me, the Yankees, I need a World Series every year. So
you guys are actually playing each other today, Miami and the Mets. And crazy VP, Miami, I'm looking at the roster or the lineup, and all the studs that you guys had last year have gone down to 6, 7, 8, 9 in the batting order because the guys that you picked up are just so much better than them.
I mean, I usually don't have any expectations for the Marlins. I know I talk a lot of shit about them. I'm a fan. But yeah, I generally expect us to, under the current leadership, continue to be a farm system for the rest of the league, which is basically all we've ever done. Get a player, get them trained up, get them wet, get them looking nice, and then send them to another team for some prospects. So, so yeah, I have no expectation for us, man. No.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be better. It'll be a better year. I like that kid Jazz Chisholm. I hope you guys don't fuck that up because every star that comes through Miami, through the Marlins, ends up somewhere else. But I like him a lot, man. And
for fans, that's the first fucking problem is that there's no fans. And
because
every
even if you have fans, everything is so expensive in my even before inflation. Like tickets to go to a fucking Marlins game at the new stadium, I looked at those years ago, and they're ridiculous. Even if I am a Marlins fan, I'm not paying that to go watch a team that's not winning. Like it's
yeah,
crazy.
I
Dolphins
think
similarly.
part of the problem with the Marlins organization is that they misjudged the city of Miami, right? Like Miami's not a baseball town to begin with,
Mm,
right? Miami was a football town,
which is
and then
surprising.
when the Heat got good, they kind of became a football basketball town, right? But I think that the MLB and the original owner of the Marlins, which I believe was Wayne Huizenga, I think he owned the Marlins and the Dolphins. Well, I don't know, he did own the Dolphins. I think he was the first owner of the Marlins. I think that they were thinking because of the Hispanic population in South Florida that
Mhm.
this is naturally going to be a baseball town. But the problem is that when you look at Florida overall statistically, is that the majority of people who live in Florida are not natural born Floridians, right? I think it's something like less than 70% of people who live in Florida are actually from Florida, right? And you
Mhm.
get a big population who are people who are transplants from places like New York. And so now you go to Marlins games and there's more of the other team's fans there than Marlins fans because the people in Miami already weren't baseball fans to begin with. And then the ones who are baseball fans are fans of other teams, you know? Like I remember when I was in high school, I worked at the arena or at the stadium back when the Marlins used to play at the Dolphins stadium back when it was a pro player stadium back then. And I was selling like cotton candy or some shit like that at that time. And I remember it was a home game. The Cubs were in town. And that's when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were going back and forth. And I mean, the amount of Cubs fans like in the stands was insane to me, and like the Marlins would get at bat and people are booing, and I'm like this is a home game, you know what I mean? So it's just it's crazy, man. Like so, I think they just misjudged the city, and they may have to move that team in order to get it better, so they can get some actual fans. But the problem is that when the current ownership, or not the current ownership, the group before this group of owners, when
Mhm.
they with the city to get that stadium built, they basically signed contracts with them saying that they couldn't move the team. I think it's like 20 or 30 years or something like that. And so they're essentially just locked in Miami at this point. And it's just it's not there. Is even I mean, because you would think like, okay, they won the World Series. Now people are gonna start coming. And it's like, okay, they won the World Series, we're out. You know. And then the team was shitty. Okay, they won the World Series again. Okay, cool. That's nice, we're out. So
People
so
don't people that go to sporting events um in a lot of towns and cities are not the people that are rich. You know what I mean? So you go to Yankee Stadium, you see a lot of middle class, lower class people. Even when they pan to the audience in games, you see us in there. You know what I mean? You're not seeing the rich, like the front rows. Yeah, those are the rich guys. Those are those are people with the dough. But it just seems like Miami is trying to appeal to those people, and those people that are there are not going to the games. They're not going to go, or not buying tickets.
mhm.
And the people that should be buying those tickets can't afford them. Little Haiti, little cute, little Havana, like they can't. They can't. It's too expensive. It's expensive alone in Miami. Add to that, now you got inflation. Add to that, you got inflated prices on tickets. We talked about it early in the pod when you were talking about brokies. Like some people are just driving Uber to make ends meet at this point. They're working a 9 to 5, probably the same 9 to 5 that was getting them by and maybe even doing well at some point within the last
Mhm.
5 years. And now they have to find another stream of income. So there's definitely no room for them to be out here buying, baseball tickets. So yeah, it's tough for you guys to
And
get
that stadium
fan
is like
participation.
it's inconvenient to go there. Like I went to a game there before. Like basically the stadium where the Marlins play at is the old Orange Bowl, right?
Mm.
It's in the middle of Little Havana. Like getting there, the traffic is terrible. And then like this, like how you go to most arenas, and they got like their own parking and like it's
Mhm.
kind of like its own part of that, like wherever it's at. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of not necessarily separated from things, but like you could tell like all this property here
It's
belongs
sports
to the
area.
team. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when you go to the Marlins arena, like you literally could drive down the street of like a neighborhood, and then you get to the stop sign, and then across the street is the arena. And when I say across the street, I don't mean like across like a major causeway. It's like a side street. Like you're driving through a neighborhood, like a regular side street. You get to the stop sign. It's like, oh shit, it's the arena right there. And so like when you go there, like when we went, I had to park in somebody's yard, and the people who live around it use it as a side hustle because it's like, yo, you park here. You know, somebody charged me like
Mhm.
$10 to park in their yard. So I was like, all
And
right,
it's
cool.
questionable.
Right. You know what I mean? So you wonder like, oh, my shit gonna be there when I get back. You know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but yeah, man, it's not in a good place. Miami's not a baseball town. You know, I don't know. Maybe if they, instead of having an expansion team, maybe if a team moved there, like a team, like kind of like how Seattle moved to OKC. You already had a team with some history, you know, things like maybe something like that would work. But like the expansion thing is not a thing. I'm pretty sure once the contract is up 20, 30 years, whatever it is, we're probably going to lose
It's
that
gonna be
team.
wrapped up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yankees gonna win the World Series, man. Yankees gonna win the World Series. It's gonna happen. All right.
That's what we need. Lamar Jackson, man.
Yeah, lots of April Fools yesterday. I saw a post that said within the next hour we'll get the announcement of Rodgers and the Jets. Got him. And then I saw one that said it's all done. Lots of April Fool shit on that one, but yeah, Lamar Jackson. We're gonna. I guess we'll beat this horse even again. I'll let you guys tell it.
I mean, it's simple at this point. You know, the league, the
He's
owners
got to go.
are
He has to go.
the owners are colluding, man. I mean, for Arthur Blank to come out and say that foolishness,
Yeah.
it was incredible. Like
Arthur Blank is Falcons. Yes.
owner of the Falcons,
Yeah.
you know, was a huge supposedly Michael Vick supporter.
Supposedly, he's a
during
huge supporter of us. Like when they
Black
built
folks.
the new stadium, he said some shit, and it might have been just for clout, but all the prices of like concessions and stuff are staying the same even under the new stadium because he wants to continue to attract the crowd he was attracting, which was
Cap.
Yeah, he's full of shit, man. I mean, this guy
you
comes
sound like
out and
Biden, right?
this guy comes out and says, you know, oh man, you know, Lamar's a different kind of player, you know, his injuries and you know, we wouldn't go after him, but you were willing to give Deshaun Watson $200 million, and he's had 2 ACL injuries. He had 20 something women out here talking about he was pulling out his meat in front of them, like, and you didn't
Allegedly.
care. You didn't care. But Lamar Jackson, you don't want anything to do with him. So you just gonna ride with Desmond Ritter. That's what you're telling us. Okay. Full of shit, man.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, man. I think the owners are probably, you know, like, yo, man, what the fuck are you doing, Arthur? Like, you know, because they're trying to make it
Giving us
seem
away.
like, yeah, they're trying to make it seem like, oh, you know, like nobody's colluding. It's just that, you know, he's a different kind of player. The availability, you know, like that's a thing. But all of y'all same teams that are saying we're not in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes all went after Deshaun. I was going to say Deshaun Jackson, Deshaun Watson. You know, and now because you don't want to pay him, you're making it seem like you're concerned about his injuries, right? And I posted a thing in the chat, you know, when I was talking about them, where basically Deshaun Watson's been in the league 6 years, Lamar Jackson's been in the league 5 years, right? So 1 year more
7 and 6, ain't it?
Well, this season coming season it'll be 7 and 6.
Okay.
Based on the just, you know, since the season hasn't happened yet, 6 to 5 years of experience, right?
Okay.
And the win-loss for Watson is 31 and 28. Jackson is 45 and 16. Sacks. Watson has been sacked 194 times. Jackson's only been sacked 132 times. Deshaun Watson has missed 36 games, right? Whether it's for injury, whether for when he sat out or when he was suspended last year. 36, that's more than 2 seasons. That's more than 2 full seasons this guy has missed. But you're telling me like, oh, we're not sure if this guy's going to be available. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Like you're full of shit when you do something like that. The issue is y'all don't want to pay this man, and y'all are basically trying to send a message to the rest of the league at the expense of Lamar Jackson.
Pretty much.
Do you think if you think Lamar Jackson just happens to fall at a wrong time and that's why it's at the expense of Lamar Jackson, or do you think if there was another quarterback that needed to be paid, or do you think Baltimore has done enough to actually make him be the guy that they wanted? Like, do you think Baltimore caused this, the Ravens?
I think the owners don't want to pay out guaranteed money. Even the little bit of guaranteed money they pay out by partially guaranteeing contracts, I don't even think they like that. And the owners are looking at Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, and saying, yo, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? And so now, with every contract that we see, whether it's at, offensive line, defensive line, cornerback, receiver, etc., the next big name person usually gets the next best deal. Even if it's only by $100,000, they usually get more than the guy before them. And they're saying, we're not comfortable paying out this amount of guaranteed money, so we're not signing a contract with this guy, period. And I think that's basically all it is. It's just them saying, we're not doing it. It's just that it's Lamar Jackson's turn.
And
do you think that it's valid for us?
They knew Baltimore knew what they had to do with this guy. They knew it was coming. They knew the market share, what's going on. You see what happened with Kyler Murray, who has done far less. You see Josh Allen, you see all of these guys. They knew what was coming. They knew what was knocking on the door. And to your point, VP, Cleveland basically fucked the Ravens royally. If that was their job,
it's not Lamar's fault.
They did a great job, because paying Deshaun, your in-conference rival, who hasn't won shit, you paid this guy $200 million. So now they're looking at Baltimore like, what you gonna do? Yeah. You gotta prove it to me. We're in the same division. We play them twice a year, and you telling me you can't give the better guy the same amount of money?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make sense.
And I mean, and the thing is that okay, the Browns gave Deshaun Watson a bad contract. All the owners said it's a bad contract. The owner or the analyst says it's a bad contract. That's fine. But if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm like, it's not my problem that Cleveland does not do business. The market is what the market is now. And now it's my turn to get paid. And I'm looking at me compared to this guy. And like I just said, when I went over the numbers, this guy in his career is 31-28. He's 3 games over 500. He's missed 2 full seasons, for whatever reason, right? And me, I'm 45-16. Show me the money. You know what I'm saying?
I don't like this rage. I don't like this rage towards the owners because they want to reset this shit. Cleveland fucked it up. You just said it. Everyone said Cleveland fucked it up. So because Cleveland fucked it up, the owners have to fall in line? Get the fuck out of here. Miami fucked it up with Duncan Robinson. You don't see nobody giving these non-fucking basketball playing shooters that give us 3 good games in the playoffs.
That's not true.
$86 million again. Like
that's not true. Right? Matthew Dellavedova, whatever his name
is. That was before Duncan Robinson.
Right. And that's how we get Duncan Robinson.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And even if it is true, right? I'm an owner. I don't want to give guaranteed money, and we're mad at the owners for that.
Yeah, pretty much.
I agree with y'all. I agree that Lamar Jackson deserves to be paid, but I'm not mad at the owners for saying, yo, we can't let this go down this fucking path of quarterbacks getting this guarantee or players getting this guaranteed money. Because there's risk involved. Whether we say, oh, there was more risk with the last quarterback, and so you can't use that as an argument. There's risk involved. This guy's a running quarterback. And any player moving forward, even if we get off of Lamar Jackson, guaranteed money, there is risk involved. No matter who it is. Kirk Cousins, risk involved. We're seeing the risk. These teams keep losing. Like they're trying to reset the market, just like the quarterbacks reset the market for the next quarterback. And I'm not mad at them for doing that. I'm not.
I mean, I hear you, but at the end of the day, for
It's
what they're
their
doing,
business to run.
right?
It's their
And
business to run.
they're gonna lose their quarterback
Let
because
me.
if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm sitting out for the year. But not only am I sitting out, I'm gonna sit out and I'm gonna get paid because if nobody's gonna trade for me, fine. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sign the fucking bullshit contract you gave me. And in the disrespect of not even giving me an exclusive franchise tag, you give me the fucking non-exclusive, which fucking screws me out of almost $15 million, right? No problem. I'll go and sign it. And the day after I sign it, I'm coming to practice. Ooh, my back. Ooh, shit.
But we've seen that. We've seen that before. We've seen it before.
My back hurt.
We've seen it. We saw that with your guy, your cornerback.
Yo, the doc say VAR's good. I don't know. The doc is saying I'm being
I'm not comfortable. I'm not confident.
It's like I check. I log onto my banking app and I see the amount in there, and then all of a sudden my back starts hurting.
Yeah, no, and he deserves that. He absolutely deserves to be able to do that. He absolutely deserves to be able to do that. But if he decides to do that, I'd support him in that too. Like I can't be mad at people that are like, yo, I don't like the way that this thing is going, and because of that, I don't support it. Right? I'm gonna give you an example. Franchise. You've eaten at a McDonald's before? We all have eaten at McDonald's before, right? You eat a Happy Meal at the McDonald's down the road, it's $5.60. You might drive to a different area where there's a different franchise owner, and it's $7. You're not gonna walk inside and be like, "Ooh." You might say, "Damn, that's expensive," or you might even leave. But you're not gonna go in there and try and bargain it. You know what I'm saying? You go to a restaurant, you sit down to eat at fucking Chili's, and they're like, "Yo, the ribs are $19.99." Damn, $19.99. Yo, let me bring your manager out. Let me talk to the owner. I only want to pay $17.99. Like that's not how the world works.
Apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. Apples and oranges.
It's not how the world works, man.
Apples and oranges. We're talking about negotiating
versus one that's not.
We're talking about negotiating.
So negotiate.
That's like you saying.
I haven't heard anything about Lamar negotiating and to go down.
Well, that's like you saying a regional manager here gets paid $100K, and you going to negotiate with your boss asking for the same thing.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, and so again,
and you know what happens? They'll say no because someone else is willing to take 85,
and that's fine. And Lamar is saying, "I'm not playing for what I'm not worth. I'm going for what I'm worth based on what Deshaun Watson got, based on what Kyler Murray got, based on what all these guys got." And hey, the rhetoric that they're putting out there, oh, it's because he doesn't have an agent. Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of his injuries. It's bullshit. And I get they're trying to reset the market.
But who's putting that rhetoric out?
The owners.
The owners didn't say it's because he doesn't have an agent. Stop.
No. What they're saying is that what you hear about the agent thing is, and I want to come back to this negotiation thing as well. But what's happening with the agent thing is that they're saying, oh, well, if he had an agent, they had the combine, right? And
Who's they? Okay, all right. So the media. So you and me.
No, hang on.
Me, you, and EJ.
The media is putting this shit out. It's basically the owners and the GMs who are filtering this shit through the NFL insiders like Shefty and Rappaport and others. Basically saying, if he had an agent when we was at the combine and all the GMs and the owners and head coaches,
we could talk to him. We could talk to him.
Even though we can't necessarily talk about Lamar, because that would be tampering. What would happen is when Bobby Wagner's agent went to go talk to the Rams about Bobby Wagner, he'd be like, what you think about my guy Lamar? Okay, cool. And then that way Lamar can get a sense of what the market is, right? So they're basically saying, if he was willing to tamper with us, we could talk to him. But since he's not, like, that is bullshit. Back to the negotiation thing, right? We all know in business, right? What's the value of an asset? The value of an asset is the price that someone is willing to pay for it, right?
Perceived, yeah.
Okay.
Perceived value.
So when you look at two assets, there's one named quarterback Deshaun Watson, and one named quarterback Lamar Jackson. And somebody has said the value of this asset is $235 million over 5 years, fully guaranteed.
Yep.
And Lamar says, now me, asset quarterback Lamar Jackson, I'm looking at me as a painting compared to that painting of Deshaun Watson, and I see better numbers. I see better statistics. I see better availability. Sure. I see better yards, better completion percentage.
I'm about to eat you the fuck up.
I see all of this stuff that's better, which tells me as the asset is more valuable than him as the asset. So now you got to show me that.
I'm gonna get him, EJ. I'm gonna get him. So what you said, what someone is willing to pay, right? Mm-hmm. We're saying the market dictates cost and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Okay. So semiconductors shortage, right? Mm-hmm. Used cars went up to triple their value, right? 97 Honda Accord that you could probably buy before the semiconductor shortage was $3,000. Now it's 9,000. Today it's still 9,000, 10,000. Semiconductors are coming back. I look back at somebody and I'm like, ooh, I'm not paying 9,000 for that. I get what the market is saying. I understand that this was inflated because this was what the situation was last year. But this year, today, I am not interested in paying 9,000 for a 2007 Honda Accord.
I'm about to kill him.
So I'm going to go ahead and hold out.
I'm about to kill him.
And that's what's happening.
I'm about to kill him.
That's what's happening.
Okay. Oh, you done? All right, here we go. Right? You're saying that because you're not in the used car market right now. You don't need a Honda Accord. But you know what the Atlanta Falcons need? A quarterback.
Based on
in the quarterback
perception.
Market, this is the cost of the quarterback.
No, but you're saying, all right, if I can't get to work tomorrow because I don't have a car and the only car there for me to choose from is that $9,000 Honda Accord, that's your situation. But guess what? I got this $1,500 hoopty that I probably got to stop at every red light, and maybe I need to go ahead and put some antifreeze in it, and I might even have to readjust the cables each day before I get in the morning, and I might have a flat tire when I come out, but I got me an air pump, so I'm going to take care of it. That's Desmond Ridder. So guess what? I'm going to go ahead and ride with this until that 9,000 comes down to 6,000, and then I might have that conversation.
You're basically telling yourself and the rest of the world and your daily commute that you don't want to win. You want to just function. You just want to get there. You don't want to win. That's what you're saying. Because Desmond Ridder was not a first round draft choice.
How do we know that he can't win?
We don't know that he can't win. But we know that Lamar Jackson can win. We know Lamar Jackson can win.
How do we know that?
We know because he has the numbers.
That's how we know.
How much? But he's won what?
45 games without having a number one outside receiver.
Does he have a Super Bowl?
You know what he has in Baltimore? He has a tight end that's all world. You know what they have in Atlanta? A tight end that's all world. And you know what Lamar Jackson can do? He could win there. But you're basically telling the rest of the NFL.
You can't use the win argument,
Steve,
when
the whole argument,
when your perception of win. So here's the thing. This is the same thing we said. This is the same thing we said.
I listen to you guys. The whole point of any NFL team is to come out and try to win a Super Bowl. We all know that. You're asking us the if-thens, nobody can guarantee anybody's going to win anything. But the reality is, if you have number 8 in a Falcons jersey, your probability of winning is that much better. And that's what we're in the game.
You're right.
That's what we're in the game of sports for.
But what's the cost? What's the cost and what's the risk? That's always going to come into play. You're always going to have a cost and a risk that come into play.
The cap space, Vari says it doesn't exist. Fine. Even if you go by that, 200 million is not. It's not like they're
guaranteed
over time. It's not like they're paying that motherfucker today 200 million of their salary cap. It's not happening. You know what's
the difference between guaranteed and unguaranteed? Yo ass get hurt, I'm on the hook. That's the difference. And he's a running quarterback who's been hurt
over time.
And I get it. We're comparing him to someone else that's been hurt just as much or missed as many games. But we're talking about risk, overall risk, and be it as it may, this is my fucking organization, and this is my fucking money. So I will pay you or I won't.
That's fine.
Like
And
that.
you're
So we
basically
can't say
telling the
they're
league.
wrong for it. You may
They're
not
basically
agree with it, but that doesn't make them wrong.
no.
No,
Steve, we're saying they have the American right to do what they want to do. What we're saying is they're full of shit. They're
I wouldn't
colluding
call
with
them
one another.
blackballing though. You guys call them
They're
blackballing. You call them
colluding.
I
They're
colluding.
think
I wouldn't
colluding.
call
They're
it that.
colluding.
they're
They're
definitely
definitely colluding.
because
They're definitely colluding.
this is my whole argument on the colluding, Steve, is that you were in the Deshaun Watson market last year,
You're
and you were
comparing
willing
it
to
to last year.
pay that guaranteed money. It's just that Cleveland was willing to pay more, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, guaranteed money. No, that's we can't be doing that. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? That's one. Two, we're in a league that we all know as fans, it's a quarterback league. This is a quarterback driven league. If you don't have a quarterback, you can't win. The Trent Dilfers and the your boy from the Bucks back in 2000 or 2001, whatever year that was, those shits are exceptions. They're not the rules.
Yep.
The Joe Flacco's, like that shit ain't happening. You need a quarterback.
I
You
agree
look at
with
the
you.
people, Matt Stafford, Mahomes, Brady, except Peyton Manning. You need a fucking quarterback.
I
Even
agree with
Eli Manning in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So you got to
I
have a
agree with you.
quarterback, right?
I agree with you.
Okay. So now you have about 5 to 7 teams that are in dire need of quarterbacks. And you have a 26-year-old proven winner in the prime of his career,
league MVP.
former
Who hasn't
MVP,
played in how long?
a couple of weeks.
Go ahead.
Since
So, all right.
December.
Let's go back to the car analogy, right? Let's say EJ bought the $7,000 Honda Accord, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, well, EJ bought the $7,000. Oh, EJ's $7,000 Honda Accord broke the fuck down. That's Deshaun Watson. I was in it last year. I was interested in that $7,000 Accord, but I saw how that ended. Deshaun Watson looked like shit. So guess what? Maybe that's not the right track for me to take with my
But maybe
organization.
Deshaun Watson looked like shit because he hadn't played in a whole year. Lamar
He hasn't
Jackson
played 2 years.
Lamar Jackson just played
2 years.
Yeah, well, 2 years. There you because he was out a whole season and then he missed the first 10 weeks.
And
so
he's also
Lamar Jackson has been playing.
And he's also in Cleveland where they're in disarray period and
Right.
they're playing the Ravens and they're in the AFC North. It's a tough division and he just got back and et cetera, et cetera. Again, Lamar Jackson, MVP level quality player.
Mm-hmm. Until your used car analogy, your Honda Accord, right? Deshaun Watson was a Honda Accord that when you went to start it, you had to go get some jumper cables. You need to put some fluid in it. You had to get it right to get it running. Lamar Jackson is already up and running.
He
already had it. He already had it too.
He was. But we haven't seen him in how long?
Since the end of the season.
Most of the season.
No, he didn't play the end of the season. He didn't play the end of the season.
He missed the last.
No, I'd say he played most of the season.
The whole season.
No, he didn't. Lamar Jackson.
I think he played 12 games. I think he played
6
games.
Played 6 games.
He played
6 games. He played 6 games. He played 6 games. We had this conversation. He played 6 games, and in week 6, he got hurt like the first play. He had 1 pass attempt. He played 6 games last year.
That wasn't week 6.
Google it. I'm gonna let y'all Google it because I'm right and I know it, and I'm gonna tell y'all what I've been watching while y'all do that.
He played about 5 games.
Okay,
he's right.
That's what I'm saying. Now, I don't want you guys to misconstrue what I'm saying. If Lamar Jackson decides to sit out, I'm going to support him. I'm not mad at him for thinking he deserves something. But I'm also not mad at the owners or an owner for saying, yo, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Because the money that I could give him, the $200 million guaranteed, let's say, maybe I could spread that out to a running back, a wide receiver, a cornerback, a middle linebacker that are going to make a difference. And then I'll take a chance with a mediocre quarterback, or maybe I'll get a veteran next year or something like that. But if I give this guy X amount of dollars guaranteed every year, I'm going to be in trouble. I mean, I don't know if that's going to pan out for me. And that's how I think they're thinking. I don't think they're sitting there like, well, let's make an example of this guy. I think they're taking it all into consideration. And isn't the CBA coming up for NFL?
Yeah, I think it's like 2 years away.
Okay, I don't know. I thought it was next year.
They could do it anytime, but I think it's like expires in like 2 years.
Gotcha. I don't know why I thought it was next year, but I'm thinking also along the lines of, well, if I'm an owner or if I'm a group of owners and we're having these conversations, then maybe I try to stop the reset of this market at this point, right? By not allowing this guy to do this with the guaranteed money. And you know what? If we all get on the same page and then we go to the CBA, we can bring something up about this. Right or wrong, that could be the way that they're thinking as well. I just don't,
Okay,
but I'm not knocking them for it. I'm not
I got
knocking them
you.
for it.
Let me just say one thing real quick. I'm not sure, what the fuck you guys are talking about. So, given that I have this title underneath my name of this research, and Lamar Jackson played 12 games last year. I don't know where the fuck this 5 games bullshit came from. He played 12 games, and then on December 4th in the Denver game is when he got knocked out after completing 3 passes for 11 yards.
I was looking at the stats this game. This year, only 4 or 5 games came up, so I don't know.
Yeah, because you got to actually click on stats to make it expand. You're getting the preview.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
well,
I'm
because he performed as if he played 6 games. So he played like ass. So you played like ass before you played 12 games. Then you sat out. Then you sat out the playoffs after you were cleared to play. So guess what? I'm not taking a risk, dog. Yeah. It's just like Kaepernick. Kaepernick was like shit before he stopped playing.
Yeah, Kaepernick is totally different because he wasn't on the level of Lamar Jackson. Me and you both said that.
And at the end of the day,
I agree that, but he looked like shit before he stopped. So all the people that are like, yo, how come
he wasn't the best before he stopped, though? That's the difference. No. Lamar Jackson was a league MVP. It's a total difference.
You're talking 3 years removed from a league year MVP.
Hey, look, at the end of the day, Lamar needs to just continue doing whatever he's doing, try to find a deal to be traded. And if he cannot be traded, sign that fucking contract and then get hurt.
Or wink, maybe, wink. Or maybe, negotiate. Maybe negotiate a little bit.
I mean, it's been 2 years. So I'm pretty sure he's been.
I wouldn't negotiate with them. I would not play for Baltimore again because I think Baltimore created this.
To EJ's point, saying that Baltimore did this, right? He was eligible to be extended after his 3rd year. This is before Deshaun Watson got paid. Mm-hmm. This is before Kyler Murray got paid. This is before all those guys got those crazy. They could have taken care of him back then. They put themselves in a situation. Right. And if I'm him, I'm not giving up. I'm not relenting.
Right. State Farm just pulled out of Florida. You know why? They stopped insuring people's homes.
To do insurance in Florida.
Why?
Too many natural disasters and insurance.
Because of the risk. Because of the risk.
Yeah, risk. There you go.
There's a risk here. There's a risk, and I'm sure they thought about
every guy.
Now, I can't talk about the other. I can't talk about the other 31 teams colluding. But what I can say from a Baltimore standpoint is they've been consistent. If they didn't extend him after 3, and they didn't extend him after 4, and they didn't cave into the $200 million, they're worried about risk. I don't know about the other 31 teams. Can't say that.
I think the main difference though is, Steve, is that like this guaranteed money conversation happened after Deshaun Watson. When he first became eligible for an extension and he was trying to get one, they basically said no. This is before the guaranteed money. So for some reason, even after, like you said, we're 3 years removed from him being a MVP, right? He was MVP in his 2nd year. And then in year 3, he played and then he was eligible for an extension. He was like, okay, it's time for me to get an extension, pay me. And he was like, no, I think we need to see more. You haven't won a playoff game yet. And then that year he took them to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. He said, okay, let's do an extension. They said, nah, we haven't seen, I don't know, And then, they go to playoffs again. Deshaun Watson happens. And now he's like, yo, it's time for me to get paid. You got, like, I don't know what more you need to see. Because when I'm on the field, we win games. You know how I know? Because we're 45-16 when I'm on the field.
No, they do. I mean, it's right for him to do that. But it's also okay for them to be consistent and say, yo, you run every down. You run more than you throw. So guess what?
Maybe I can give you some goddamn targets besides the tight end.
Because they never gave this motherfucker receiver.
Yeah, but that whether that's the truth or not, we can't move everything and say, well, you didn't give him a target. Well, all this, well, that. No. Listen, you run a lot. I'm worried about the risk. Bottom line.
Baltimore don't know what they're doing. Baltimore don't know what they're doing over there. They drafted Hollywood Brown 1st round only to send the motherfucker out. What are they doing?
Well, Hollywood was a head case. He was talking shit.
I know, but what the fuck did you draft him in the 1st round for? It doesn't make any sense. He wasn't even one of the best receivers in college.
Right. You know what Jim Kelly said yesterday? He said they got to get some help around Josh Allen. You know what I mean? So like, you bring me in here, I'm doing this shit by myself, right? And now you don't want to fucking pay me.
Myself is all right. Myself is doing a lot in that sentence. You know, like Mark Andrews ain't good. Like, come on, dude is
Yeah,
one
but
of
I'm
the
saying
top
I'm either throwing it to Mark Andrews or I'm running,
targets in the league.
right? So give me somebody else to throw it to. That's all I'm saying. But yo, what you been watching? You know,
Let's see. What have I been watching? My norm. I did start a new show last night or the night before. Dang it. Actually yesterday. It's like Issa Rae's show. I like it so far. I gotta look it up because I don't know the name of it.
Mhm.
But it's an all black cast and it's like a black Cheers. Similar or not Cheers. It's like a black Friends.
Is it on Peacock?
It's on
Like Living Single?
CBS. It's on
Oh,
CBS.
you talking about that joint? Shit, I could see it in my face.
I think you would
It's something the
appreciate it
guild,
too.
the guild or something.
Yes. Yep.
Is it
Yep.
the
Yep.
guild?
It's something like that. I'm about to pull it up right now. But I think I know EJ you would appreciate it. I think VP you would like it as well.
I watched a little bit of it. It's all right.
There's no big names in it, right? So there's no big actor. It's all like, you know, underground first time faces to me, they're first time faces. But it's pretty good. They're funny and you know, I've enjoyed it so far. I think I watched 4 episodes yesterday. It's 30 minutes, of course, because it's a CB. I think it's CBS or maybe it's ABC. I'm pulling it up now. But I'll look for the name. I'll look for the name. But I've been watching that. Of course, I've been watching, you know, my guilty pleasures, the normal stuff. And there was
No, it's
something
not
else
the
I watched.
guild. I know exactly
Yeah, it's
what
not the
you're
guild.
talking
But I
about.
googled the guild, and they're definitely not all black cast.
Yeah, it's
No.
not the guild. It's something with a G
The
because
neighborhood. No,
they
that's the
they
Cedric Entertainer show.
they drink wine and shit like that, right, Steve?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. I see it in my face, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, maybe it's
'Cause you
not
can
on
watch it.
CBS because I'm on CBS.
You can watch it on
looking at all the
Peacock
shows.
too.
I don't see it.
You can
So
watch
that's
it on
NBC
Peacock
if it's on
shows.
Peacock.
Oh, then
Yeah.
NBC.
Yeah.
Which it's called Grand Crew. That's what
Grand
it's called.
Crew. There it is. There it is.
Yeah,
I knew it was
Grand
something with a G. I
But
knew it was
basically,
something with a G.
you know, the gist of it is it's a bunch of friends, and they all basically end up back at a bar. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, they all end up back at a bar, and it's interesting. I like it so far. What stuck out to me that it was an all black cast. It's in LA. It reminds me of I don't know why I always forget Insecure, sort of, right? They kind of jump from story to story, similar to it, and I you know, it's entertaining.
Okay.
You guys should give it a shot.
I watched it when it first came out, and I kind of didn't stick with it. The guy. So you have the guy. What's his name? One of these guys. Noah. He played in some CW shows, but yeah, and the guy Colton Dunn who plays Michael. He was on another Netflix show, but they're all relatively, you know, new startup kind of actors. But yeah,
I don't recognize any of these people.
Yeah, I didn't stick with it. But yeah, it was kind of funny when I watched it when it first came out. So I haven't stuck with it though. I've been watching on Showtime. What the fuck is the name of that show? Can't think of it. Yellow Jackets. I've been watching the Yellow Jackets.
Oh, is it good?
So I started watching it before and I couldn't stick with it, so I came back to it. But it's definitely interesting. So I'm still trying to see it heat up. It's got good reviews for sure.
What's it about?
So basically, it's like Lord of the Flies. Basically, it's like
never saw that either.
That was a book, but
oh, you never seen Lord of the Flies?
All right, here we go.
It was a book. Then they made it a movie as well. But it's basically like this team, this all-state Jersey team, soccer team from Jersey.
I got the conch.
They basically their plane basically crashes and you know the surviving girls
lost.
Yeah, but the surviving girls, it gets pretty savage and wild shit happens, but they're basically telling you the story and they're jumping from 20 years when it happened, and then how they're living now and the shit that's going on now. So it's kind of, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. I've been watching that. Can't think of anything else I was watching. Oh, Snowfall. Snowfall final season is happening. I mean, John Singleton, man, rest in peace of John Singleton. I don't know how much this season was changed due to his death, but I haven't really been a fan of this show for some time now. It's just too unreal. But it's gonna be over soon, so we'll see.
I heard this season was pretty good, but I haven't watched Snowfall since season 1. So
Yeah, people hype anything up. People hype anything up. I don't know. Maybe sometimes I just watch shit and I'm just like, make it real for me. Like, make it better. Like, I understand it's drama and it's fiction, but I'm like, certain shit is just wild. Certain shit is wild to me.
I heard a lot about Yellow Jackets. I heard the name plenty of times, but I never watched it, so I might give it a shot.
Yeah, it's interesting.
BP, what you been watching?
For me, man, my normal stuff. Survivor, things like that. Succession just started back up. Last week was the series finale premiere was last week. So episode 2 tonight. Can't wait for that. And then I finished off that documentary I told you guys I was watching, the docu-series on Rome. That was pretty interesting. Especially the joint on the season they did on Julius Caesar. That was very, very interesting. There was definitely some stuff that I knew about Caesar that I was either partially wrong or I didn't know as much as I thought I knew on it. So, very, very interesting.
What is that on?
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
3 seasons. So each season covers a different emperor. So, like I said, the first season covers Commodus, who's the guy who Joaquin Phoenix played in Gladiator. The second season is on Caesar, and then the third season is on Caligula.
Caligula.
Yeah. So it was very interesting, man. Very interesting. So yeah, but check that out. And
y'all moved Jazz Chisholm to the outfield. All right, the Marlins don't ever want to win. Y'all are shit. Go ahead, sorry.
And then I also checked out this show. It's an Amazon show. It's called The People. It ain't it. Like it kind of. I usually like Amazon program. I mean, I don't watch everything on Amazon, but I think I've liked pretty much anything I've watched.
They got some of the best original joints. They got definitely some of the best original shows.
This one was giving me some Netflix vibe. It kind of felt like how EJ talks about Marvel, kind of like, yo, we got money, so we making shit just because we can, fight me. Like
basically.
This shit just wasn't good. It got John Leguizamo in there, Benny from the Block, the actual one.
Yeah, the right one this time.
The right one this time. But they got him. He's really the only person in it that I recognize, and it's basically about.
It's also Benny from the Bronx.
What I said?
The Block.
Oh, okay.
He was thinking of Jenny from the Block.
Yeah, you're from Florida.
But basically what it's about is like all around the world. It's one of those shows that like the characters that track are not like in the same place. They're like all over. So this phenomenon starts happening in young girls that are basically like between like 12, 18 years old, where they start getting like power, where they can like shoot electricity through their hands and shit. And it just starts like happening out of nowhere. Nobody knows like what's causing it or whatever. And so some of them like start doing like crazy shit, killing people, and like others are, scared and, trying to figure out what's going on, that kind of show. And like one of the girls is John Leguizamo's daughter or whatever. So it's straight. It's not for me, but it was all right.
Yeah, I saw the previews for that. I knew I wouldn't want to see it.
Yeah. And like one of the girls, like the black chick, the one who's they're somewhere in the US, like she's talking to somebody. Like anytime she interacts with people, there's like a voice in her head that she's kind of following, and she thinks that she's talking to God, but they haven't revealed like who the fuck she's talking to. But I'm like, yo, this bitch is crazy. She's gonna kill somebody with this fucking electricity.
That's no way to talk about someone.
So, but yeah, that's basically it for me, man.
Okay.
Is there anything else that I watched? Can't think of.
Yeah, it's been a quiet week for me, really watching stuff. I still haven't gotten around to seeing Creed, which I do want to do, man. Jonathan Majors, that thing is still wrapping up, so we'll have to come back to that. We missed last week, and I guess we can make it pretty quick here. But Tekashi 6ix9ine popped back up on social media yesterday or Friday. And this is post getting beat up down in Miami. Some guys in Miami jumped up 3 guys. No, it was in Miami.
He was in Miami at a Planet Fitness.
Yeah. Actually LA Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we judgment free at Planet Fitness. But he was at LA Fitness, and 3 guys caught him in the dressing room, beat him up pretty badly, and videos came out and such. So how do you guys feel about that situation?
I think it's stupid to me. I'm not in a gang, so I don't get gang culture. But like, the shit that's amazing to me is that I'm willing to bet that the guys who beat him up aren't even in the gang that he snitched on at court. Is almost like, I'm in a gang and you snitched on some gang people, so we're like a community. You know what I mean? It's just it's stupid to me.
Supposedly,
I don't understand that shit.
Supposedly they were trying to say that he got jumped because he offended like Puerto Ricans or something like that, because he's half Puerto Rican and Mexican, I believe, and I believe like his father is Puerto Rican, and he's kind of like always like disassociated himself from being Puerto Rican. It could be the other way around. I could be messing it up, but apparently he was at a baseball game. It could have been one of them WBC games and World Baseball Classic games.
It was. There was a video of that.
Yeah, he was like disrespecting people in Puerto Rico in general, I believe. So they're saying that they believe that was what the attack was motivated by the attack. They caught all 3 of those guys, though. 2 of them were related. I think a father and son duo, and the 3rd guy was, with them. But the thing about it for me that was stupid was like, y'all motherfuckers are recording this and y'all doing it in a gym where they're gonna have your identity when you leave. So that part was stupid for me. But hey, man, I mean, he's lucky that something like this didn't happen to him sooner or worse for all of the things that he's done.
No, you're right. He actually, I mean, he definitely invited this type of energy, right? But one of the guys is 42 years old, something like that, right? 42 years old.
42 years old.
His wife just put out set up a GoFundMe talking about he made a mistake and blah 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 blah. You don't know this guy. Like, you don't know this guy. You're risking your freedom for a guy who on social media talks shit. You're risking your freedom so that you can get clout on the internet for saying, yo, I'm the one that caught Tekashi 6ix9ine after he talked all that shit. That's what makes it stupid. At 42 years old, don't turn around now and have your wife over here crying and shit. Bitch, your man deserved to be in jail. Because that's somebody's son. Regardless of what you say, he could talk all the shit in the world. You invite it. He's a punk. He's a bitch. I agree with all of that. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna do something about it, you deal with the consequences. Don't come turning around like, oh, can you guys give us some money? We're trying to get him some legal fees. No, this thing made a stupid decision, like EJ said, in a gym with cameras, recorded it, put it online. You deserve whatever comes with that.
Right.
That's how I see it. This kid, I mean, he talks all the shit in the world, but guess what? What does talking shit do? He ain't never hurt you, never harm you. He's not posing no threat to you, your family, or anybody you know. Why you gonna put hands on this kid? And 3 of you big ass niggas is jumping this dude that's like 112 pounds soaking wet, 5'3", 5'6" maybe.
And that's the problem. That's the problem with our community, though. As a whole, you see people. I saw it all the time. People committing crimes and killing people and shooting people, and it's like, free the bro. No, don't free the bro. No, No,
No, leave the bro where he at.
the bro needs
let
to
the
stay
bro
there.
let the bro think about what he did.
He's a danger to the community. No, don't free the bro. No.
Not for a dude that had, did absolutely nothing to you. You know what I mean? Like, it's different. It's absolutely different if he did something specific to you or your family. That's different. But you're gonna go out here and put yourself at risk. And like I said, you're gonna jump them. When do we start glorifying people jumping people? Square up. Y'all bigger than him. You should be able to beat him. If you as bad as you think you are, as bad as you say you are, fight him. Fight him head up. And if you start losing, you got two other dudes there anyway. It's gonna be the
Right.
same situation. You end up jumping them. Fight the
Mhm.
dude head up.
I don't feel sorry for the kid. I can give a shit. I mean, like I said, he's lucky. It was those guys and not some people better at that job than them.
No, you're right there. You're right there. But that's weak shit to me, man.
Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it.
Weak.
I can dig it.
Because don't get me started, man. Don't get me started. That's where your gun violence comes from, right there, VP. That's where you come. Because like if you fight my cousin or my son or my brother head up and you beat him. You jump him. Now we got a problem. Now we have a problem. You know what I'm saying? And also he's got the money to make it a problem. Nah, man.
Yeah. He's lucky he walked away. That's all I could say. Because with everything that he's brought down on himself, I'm surprised something like this didn't happen and worse.
No, I agree with you. I think this here is probably he's lucky that this is the worst that he's had so far, right? And now is the time for him to change somehow, right? Like you come out and start talking wild shit, it could be worse. Now people know that you're accessible and you've done all that shit, you talked all that shit. You're probably better off coming out humbling yourself and go from there, because I absolutely expected worse than him just getting beat up or jumped. That doesn't make it right though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The main dude that was kicking him and punching him is double his size.
Yeah.
Did 9 years in jail.
He might want to invest in some security. Yeah, that's what I said when they jumped him. I said, whoever these gentlemen are, they've been to jail and they're comfortable going back. Clearly, because they recorded it and they did it
he's snitching. He's snitching.
Absolutely.
He got no problem snitching. I'm snitching too, man. Listen, you jump me, because if I don't snitch, I'm gonna probably go to jail. So it's better if I snitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the chat, we had a comment that says laws are there for a reason. If you claim the street, you either get behind bars or hit with the bar. I agree with it. I'm with it. Give me the head up though. If I'm alone, give me the head up. If it's so bad, give me the head up. And if you beat me, great. And if I beat you, all that shit I talk is getting 10 times worse. And that's probably why they didn't want to do it. Because now, if even if he goes head up with one of them and cleans one of them up, they could jump him after that. Now their one homie got to deal with the fact that they got cleaned up by 6ix9ine. It's just weak shit, man.
He might want to invest in some security
again, or move out of a major city. Like maybe not be in Miami or New York or Chicago or LA. Maybe go to South Dakota. Go to South Dakota. You could go to the gym. You can go do whatever you want, and then just fly.
Be in a major city. Like just go to like Billings, Montana.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it, man. That's it. That's all I got. We'll keep watching Jonathan Majors. There's all types of shit that's coming out and stuff. Like first that, she recanted her statement, but then, some other changes. So we got to keep an eye on that. But that Disney money is working.
Lawyer's saying there's video evidence, so I don't know.
Well, the lawyer put out the alleged text messages where she, allegedly she said, but this is where it gets tricky and scary for men, right? Is I've seen situations like this where the woman, you still decide you're going to be in the relationship, so she pulls back her charges, but then the state picks him up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the state has the ability and the right to do that, and that could be detrimental to Jonathan Majors or anyone, right? So it's just a dirty game, man. It's a dirty game.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Eventually, we'll see.
Yep. All right, man. Well, that's all I got. You guys got anything else that we need to cover today?
Nah.
Just something real quick we can discuss before we got here. A couple minutes.
Hit it.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I thought about that earlier, and I was thinking, I'm gonna just wait until we actually get him.
I mean, I hear you. You know, but
Yeah, call me when they you know what I mean, when they bang the gavel on him.
I just want
Call
the
me.
pictures of him in cuffs. That's all.
I don't think
Yeah.
they're gonna put him in cuffs.
Oh, then why? Then we ain't get him. We ain't get him.
I think it's gonna be because from everything that I'm reading, they're saying like Secret Service is somewhat in the lead because you know he's still under their protection. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it might be a security thing where they don't let him get handcuffed. Like if something were to pop off and they got to get him out of there and he's handcuffed, you can't run. Or not that you can't run, but it's harder to run handcuffed and that kind of. You know what I mean? So it might be like a security thing. They might not allow him to be handcuffed. Or some people were saying if he is handcuffed, it might be in the front versus the back. And that kind of thing like that. So it's he's definitely going to get some special treatment given his status as a former president. But he should be getting arrested and arraigned on Tuesday. They're saying around 2:15. So in normal time dealing with politics, the law, that's probably more like 4:00. So, but yeah, so it'll happen on Tuesday, and at that point, we'll see what happens, man. But the dude is facing multiple investigations. The New York Attorney General investigation is still going on, and then he's also facing the investigation in Fulton County, trying to overturn the Georgia election. I think those charges are actually going to come soon, just based on what's happened thus far in that case. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 4 to 6 weeks we see something drop there. And then he's also facing the federal charges for January 6th and the documents, the classified documents case. Both of those are also ongoing as well. So a lot of space watching.
I'm interested.
Yeah, and then just to hit the politics real quick, so we can get out of here. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson announced his candidacy for president today. I think Republicans are playing a very I don't know if I want to call it a dangerous game. I think it is a dangerous game, but I think they're basically gonna work together and get Trump nominated as their nominee. So yeah. But he announced, and you already have Trump, who's announced, Tim Scott, senator from South Carolina, Nikki Haley, who's former South Carolina governor and Trump's UN ambassador, and then Mike Pence has basically let it be known that he's looking very likely going to run as well, and Mike Pompeo, who was Trump's Secretary of State, is likely going to run as well. So it's going to be a very crowded field, and Trump's going to get about 40% of all the people. All of them are going to get, anywhere from 2 to 10%, splitting everything else. And then Trump's going to win the primaries and be their nominee. So they need to figure out, get some of them out of there and say, okay, who's got the best shot? Maybe 2 or 3 of us run, everybody else take a back seat. This ain't your time. You know what I mean? But they're not going to do it.
So you don't think DeSantis has a chance?
No, absolutely not.
Well, that sucks. I kind of want him to do it because I feel like he's more he's probably less dangerous as the president because he doesn't have as much hands on and shit like that. You still got to let everyone else kind of do the deed.
Yeah, I hear you, but I think DeSantis is I mean, he's a terrible person to begin with, but he can't beat Trump. He's too weak like that. And I think that's part of the problem with Republicans who they treat Trump with kid gloves, because it's kind of like they know everybody in their base loves Trump, right? And so anytime they interact with about anything about him, they try to be deferential to him and then slightly criticize him, and so it's like, yo, if you're gonna hit the dude, hit him. You know what I'm saying? And like they'll say stuff like, oh, I think it's time, for new voices, and instead of saying, yo, this dude was president and then he cost us the House in 2018, he cost us the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2020, and then he ran all these shitty candidates in 2022 and cost us the Senate again by going for people like Herschel Walker, that fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And instead of saying that, they keep saying, I think it's time, a new generation of leadership. Wink, wink. The old guy who's 70, so we got to get rid of him. But like, come on, dude. Like, if you're gonna hit the guy, hit him. You know what I mean? Like, people respect fighters.
Yeah. Well, they need to. Yeah, it's surprising. I guess actually, it doesn't really surprise me knowing that he's probably going to get a lot of exposure because of this. What he's got going on. So, makes sense. You enrage his enraged base. That's what they're probably hoping to get in 2024.
Yeah, that's the hope. And then the last thing, the VP Kamala Harris was on an Africa trip this week. She hit a three-nation trip across Africa for the past. I think she was there like a week, 8 days, something like that. And she went to Ghana, Tanzania, and Zambia. And for her, the trip to Zambia was like, really special to her, because she used to live there as a child, because her father used to be a diplomat who was stationed there. And so she was saying like how she felt like it was a kind of a homecoming and that kind of thing like that or whatever. But she was celebrated. They love. I mean, it's like when Obama went to Africa. You seen a black guy who leaves the United States coming to Africa. Like, so they rolled out the red carpet, and the people seemed to really care for her being there. So yeah. But she just got back home to the U.S. today, capping off a week-long 3-nation trip to Africa.
Good. All right. Well, that's all I got. So I will hand it over to you. Give you the keys to the car to get us up on out of here.
To the Honda Accord.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, we definitely appreciate you guys for rocking with us this week on this episode of the Cashworthy Podcast. For those who listen live, we definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your day. For those who listen on the episode post, we appreciate you taking that time as well. Also, if you listen to our podcast and you live in the state of Wisconsin, if you can hear my voice and you know anybody who lives in the state of Wisconsin, Tuesday is election day. There's a very important state Supreme Court race on the ballot. Get your ass out there and vote if you have not voted already. Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, April the 4th, is election day in Wisconsin. This election is hugely important for the state of Wisconsin, but also for our democracy overall. Get out there and exercise the franchise. People fought for it. Go out there and fucking vote. Like we always said, man, make that phone call, reach out to somebody, let them know you're thinking about them. They'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it as well. And just let folks know that they're on your heart, man. Tomorrow's not promised nobody, so make that phone call, send that text message. You can find this podcast on all podcasting platforms by searching Castworthy. You also can find us on any of our social media by searching Castworthy. While you're there, on Instagram, it's at Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, leave us a like, comment, subscribe, share, follow, tell a friend, help us grow the audience. We very much appreciate it. And, until then, we will see you guys on the next episode of the Castworthy Podcast. We're out. We love you. Peace.